Alright. Now, I know you're already subscribed to the Yig Studio channel, and this live stream VOD recording is right there in your usual spot, where you look for new content to consume, and it's a nice juicy couple of hours, and you're like, I'm just going to listen to this right now. But let me tell you, probably, if you look in the description, you will probably find a link that leads to the edited podcast version of this episode. There's not a huge difference.
If you think my voice sounds good now on the podcast, it's like velvet. I mean, the sound editor we have, she's really doing great work. She's very wonderful.
I'm not going to lie. I haven't done a ton to make it sound better. It's more about the editing. It's more about how much is cut of just silences, us getting up to go to the bathroom. There's also extensive time codes in the edited version, so if you're looking for a specific anime, you will be able to find it more easily on that version. We're trying to grow this new channel called We Watch Anime because the Yig Studio channel is functionally dead. YouTube's algorithm does not like this channel. It has lots of back history with videos that are constantly getting strikes and stuff. Like, my old content still regularly gets flagged and stuff. So this channel is just a hotbed of disaster, and I'd like to, if we're gonna have something long-term sustaining, for it to have its own thing, its own entire channel. So We Watch Anime so far has been incredibly healthy. There's been 3 episodes of the podcast that have been released over there. They're all doing really well.
Technically, there's 2. It's just the first one's split up into 2.
Well, I decided to make the Chainsaw Man podcast its own podcast because of the fact that live stream was 7 hours long.
So this is the 4th episode.
Well, this is episode 3 of We Watch Anime, the show. Whereas there's Chainsaw Man's kind of an example of a bonus episode, and we're going to get into what those are very shortly because I'm going to talk about it at the head of the actual show. These opening minutes, if you're like, I have to hear absolutely everything, this is all you are missing from the other version of the show, besides silences and, just awkward pauses, getting up to go to the bathroom, maybe a couple super chats that aren't relevant to the show. But, in particular, if you're looking for a specific anime, you should definitely go to the podcast version because of the fact that this episode will be much shorter than the previous ones since we're not catching up on a ton of anime.
We didn't catch up on anything. We just watched the episodes that came out this week. So there were
2 shows that, we ended up being a little behind on, but we'll get into that when we get into the podcast properly. I'm kind of waiting for people to filter in at first. I always have to tweet out my links and stuff.
Let's see if we sound okay.
Make sure that everything works for the first couple minutes. But yeah, again, once we get into this,
we sound good.
It'll be pretty much the same show, and I'm gonna try to get it edited and released probably tonight because it won't be 4 in the morning or 5 or whatever it was when we finished the last show. Jesus Christ, it was so late.
Guardians was worth it though.
It was a good movie. So anyways. All right. Shall we get into the podcast then? Oh, yeah, and let's remind you, super chats, we will address them in between shows. If you super chat us to talk about something, we'll talk about it. We'll go on for a couple minutes about it. But we're just going to address it in between shows so that we don't interrupt the flow of the podcast. This is a screen caps based show, audio and screen caps. Also, it's on Spotify. Well, I guess I'll say all that when we're in it. All right. Let's get started.
I'm Bird.
No, wait.
Aww.
No, wait.
She had a planned opening this time.
Well, I always want us to start with the same phrase.
Oh, I see.
We watch anime.
Oh, okay. 3, 2, 1.
We watch anime. I'm B, and
I'm Bird.
And we watch anime, unlike most podcasters in the world. I don't think there's a lot of podcasts there's just about watching new anime and talking about it, especially episode by episode. So that's your fix here. We are dedicated to finishing every show that we talk about on this podcast.
Even though that can be challenging sometimes.
It can be. Some of these shows can be really frustrating. And this week, we got a really fun mix.
This week, I think it mostly was pretty good. I don't think there was a whole lot of bad.
There were some really great episodes of anime this week. There were a couple of really bad episodes. Well, there's one really bad. And then there's a couple of really mediocre.
I'm trying to remember.
I gave out a few fives this week.
No.
But fives, what's interesting to me about this is that, aside from the stuff that was really good or really bad, all the fives are different types of fives. Because sometimes something is a 5 because it leaves no real negative or positive impression. It's just kind of there. And you're just kind of like, well, I didn't hate that, but I didn't feel anything. And then there's times where it's like you feel so much positive and negative that they cancel each other out, and it becomes a 5.
Sure, I think I know what you're talking about now.
And sometimes it can just be like kind of a mixed bag. But the first show that we're going to talk about is
it's the best show. This episode started off.
Well,
rough.
we're not even ready to get into the show yet because
shoot.
we have to talk about the fact that you can now support us on Patreon
and
Backed.by. What's the difference? Backed.by is a platform that we own our instance of. We cannot be deplatformed from it, and it only takes 1% of the revenue from us.
That's awesome.
So from our perspective, massively beneficial. I will say that we posted about it on Twitter, and I think that the amount of attention it got caused it to start slow loading for the rest of the day. So give it some patience if you are trying to sign up there. But
just us.
The Back.by page is where we will get more support, but the same bonuses are offered there as on Patreon, which is for $5 you will get access to our 2 bonus episodes every month, voted on by the patrons at this tier.
And the first poll, I think, just went up.
Yes,
I believe
there
I saw
is
you typing
already
it
a
earlier.
poll. The first poll, all of the suggestions. Can you actually turn that knob just the tiniest bit to the left, just ever so slightly? Yeah, that's good. Anyway, the first poll is already up, and you can vote on it if you become a $5 patron this week. I'll close it before the next show when we've figured out what the anime we're watching is, and then we will immediately launch the next poll after that because of the fact that this month we're going to be, doing some catch up to get 2 episodes done. But basically,
we talk about what the options in the poll are?
Yes.
'Cause I don't know what they are.
They are. There's the first one. These were all suggested by people who were already $5 patrons before I switched the Patreon to be about this show. People who kept their patronage through that. I was like, you guys get first pick, basically. So the suggestions were a show called Imoto Sai Arebai, which I know nothing about, pretty much. Loveless, which I know about because it was like an early gay love anime with some action. I've seen the first couple episodes and I liked it, but it was a long time ago. One person who we're also going to mention the second reward that we offer on Patreon for the $10 tier a month, which 2 people have already signed up for, is that you get your name read in every single episode. We will personally thank you. So I'm just going to go ahead and do that because we have M2 who signed up and suggested Xavier Renegade Angel, stating they don't really watch anime, but like the show because they're a longtime fan of my content. So
Thank you, M2.
Yeah, I definitely appreciate that. And yeah, Xavier Renegade Angel is a really funny show that I wouldn't mind watching. So, so if anybody votes for it, I think probably M2 is the one who did vote for it already in the poll. It's got 1 vote so far. And then Hidden Music Island also signed up for that tier, who is also somebody that posts like Nujabes style hip hop music all the time on YouTube. So I subscribe to them as well. But yeah, the other options in the poll, there were a couple that I put in there just because they seemed like obvious things. Demon Slayer episodes 1 through 13. Gundam the Witch from Mercury was suggested by somebody, which is something I'm definitely.
I think Vic might have recommended that.
Victor did recommend we watch that, but that was not through being on Patreon. Bochi the Rock is one I put in just because I knew that the biggest number of people that like I follow on Twitter have talked about it, so I figure it's probably a hit within my audience.
I bet it's not as good as Mashal.
So far, Gundam the Witch from Mercury, Bocchi the Rock, and Xavier Renegade Angel are all tied with 1 vote. So if you want to be able to get in on voting for our bonus episode and then be able to hear that bonus episode live, we'll probably do it like right after the regular podcast, just one after another, so that we can just... I really like the idea of this show being kind of like watching Adult Swim all night long. I think that would be a fun way to do it. So anyways, getting into the actual shows we're talking about, Oshi no Ko is the most frustrating anime to me. And it's not that I hate it.
I don't know how to feel watching this show.
Oh,
it never... Man. It's so many mixed emotions all at once, and there also needs to be like at least one more girl character.
I mean, they introduced a few that they just haven't done anything with at all yet, like, or who've gotten like one scene and then we don't know anything else about them. It kind of feels like, why bother introducing them so early if they're not going to be doing anything yet? It just like, the show is so scattershot with its ideas and what it decides to bring into the fold, and the more I think about it, the more I like question it, or like feel like question the reality of it. Just feel like like for instance, this girl, what
is her name?
I keep forgetting. Ruby. Yeah, because
Ruby
her names
and
are Ruby
Aqua.
and Sapphire, right? Or no,
Aqua.
they're not Pokemon. Ruby and Aquamarine. Ruby here. Like, it occurred to me at some point, like, what the fuck has she been doing all this
The whole time? Like,
yeah,
just going to school, kind of?
Like,
we saw a little bit of that. Oh, you mean, like, the whole time when her brother has been, like, tracking a killer.
We know what he's been doing is, like, being Batman. I guess she's just been trying to sign up to be an idol over and over again for, like, 6 years or something.
That seems to be the case.
I just felt like, I don't know, does she not have a social life? Does she not have... Like it feels as though the writer just wanted like the story to start up again when they are going into high school, and then just kind of suggested that like, yeah, and nothing really happened for 6 years except that, like, I don't know, Sapphire sat hacking on his phone over and over and over again every
hacking
day.
On Ai's
like,
phone.
Yeah, I feel like I have some sense of, okay, he feels like a consistent character. Like, I understand what he did for 6 years. Her, I just don't get it. Like, what has she been? She just feels so vapid and empty. Like, she's no personality other than, I want to be an idol very badly.
She's following in her mother/mentor's footsteps.
Yeah.
She's got to do what I did. She's got to be even better than I. But Aqua does not like this. But so this episode starts with, the last episode kind of left off with her finally making moves on starting her idol group.
Yeah.
And so this episode begins with, I guess, her talking about how much she knows about idols because she's been a fan forever.
Yeah, she thinks that Kana would make a perfect idol, especially for otaku, because of the fact that... she's got all this expertise. She's just been, like, watching her, and she's like, she's beautiful, she's got the right personality, she's definitely idol material. She's basically stalking her.
Yeah.
It's just odd to me, like, I don't know. I don't know if she's the only girl that she considers to be idol material like this that's in the school. It's odd to me that she would fixate on somebody she doesn't get along with and doesn't think would want to do this. But it's just like, but she might be the one.
But she's cute, and she knows how to act. So why not? It might work.
Maybe. So, her biggest problem, her biggest roadblock is, like, isn't she kind of obnoxious towards me? It's like, well,
yeah, but...
you're kind of obnoxious towards her, so I don't know what you're expecting. Like,
So she's, or I don't know, is it Aqua suggesting that Kana, or Kana? Kana's her name,
Kana
right?
is the red hair.
Is it Aqua suggesting that Kana should be part of the idol group, or did Ruby get this idea all by herself?
Ruby just all by herself concluded, okay, Kana is a perfect idol. I should probably have her in my group, but I kind of hate her, so I don't know if I should go through with it. Then we have a scene where Kana's just kind of chilling in class and reading reviews of the show, like the last episode on the internet.
Yeah.
And seeing all these people who are talking about how even though that stalker guy was creepy and all,
He was kind of cute.
yeah,
though.
he was kind of good looking, and she starts remembering him, and she's getting kind of flustered about it. And then she gets a text from him that's like, "Hey, you should meet me after school." And she's like, "Oh shit, what if he's gonna ask me out?" So she's getting herself all pampered up, ready to go. Ooh la la. But turns out he invited his sister. They're both there, and she immediately is like, "Yeah, I'm busy. You've got 20 seconds. Like,
This isn't a date.
this isn't what I was signed up for. I really can't stand your sister. Fuck you guys." I don't know. This is like mildly funny, I guess. It didn't really get a laugh out of me or anything because the show, it really belabors every point that it makes. The characters speak in whole paragraphs every time, and I know it's a little ironic to say that on a show that is just talking. I realize that we are speaking in full paragraphs right here, right now, but this is a mostly audio medium of just unbroken radio discussion. It's just watching it in an anime. This show, it feels to me like a radio program that has just had pictures put over it. Especially when they get like the really emotional music going and stuff, and like they're kind of timing the dialogue out to the music, and like, yeah, it just feels like I'm listening to something that would be exactly as meaningful without the visuals. The visuals just add, I don't know, I guess a little bit of grounding.
Oh my gosh, Strawberry Productions is working on putting together an idol group.
Yeah, so she's asking Kana to join her idol group. And I'll say, so I've seen some contention about the character designs in this show. How do you feel about just the overall looks and designs of this show? Do you like it? Do you dislike it?
I've heard someone say that they're literally killing animators with the eye designs on Oshi no Ko.
There are articles out there about how, like, the amount of detail that's being put into anime eyes, and especially, like, idol anime, like, it's incredibly taxing because it takes a long time for the computer to even render all the layers of like effects that they're doing and shit. So yeah, it's supposedly one of the like most like one of the ways that new technology has most made things worse for animators while making them, I guess, look better. But I've never been a fan of these like ridiculous.
This show has a lot of
eyes.
pretty funny eyes.
They look goofy to me a lot of the time. But, like, so I've seen some debate about the artwork in this show. We have a friend...
I think it looks fine. I'd say like a 7 out of 10.
Our friend Butthole Weeb was like, these are the worst character designs I've ever seen. I do not agree with that stance. I've seen much worse.
He dropped the show harder than his balls when he turned 13 or something.
Yeah,
I believe those were his words.
He says that a lot. He says that about every show he dropped, actually. He only dropped shows
is
exactly
quite
that
a lot
hard.
of shows.
Yeah. So I think this show, moments like this, where it uses the really aesthetic lighting, and I like the way they have like the broken line work that kind of gives it this wavy, emotional look with all these little highlights in there. I think the facial expressions are usually pretty well done, regardless of the character designs being kind of bland and just average. With some exceptions, like Frill looks really different. She's got like weird alien eyes and shit.
Frill,
the like actress at their
right?
school.
Yeah,
she hasn't come up again like at all. Yeah, that's an example of the character.
She's in this episode, isn't she?
I think she might make a appearance in an image or something, get mentioned maybe. But yeah, like there's a YouTube video by somebody. I think it was Kito Senpai about the character designer for this show, and how like they're just this absurd workhorse of a person who like animation checked every single frame of the shows that she's worked on, and basically was asked like, what anime do you want to, like, what manga do you want to make into an anime, and she said this, and that's how we got this. So there's more detail in that video about it, but I appreciate the effort that has gone into making this show look, very broadly appealing and palatable and selling certain emotional moments. I loved the scene where the mom died. It looked great.
It did look very good.
So yeah, like I'll compliment a moment like this on its visuals overall, but
if you were in that scene, you'd be taking a sun pic right now.
It's true. I would be taking a photograph of the sun if I was here.
If I become an idol, I'll lose out on jobs reserved for young actors because Kana is constantly clinging to the hope that she will get to act again one day.
Yeah.
Which she might. I'm not saying she won't, but it's not going well for her. She's not getting a lot of roles since that show ended. So she needs to get her name out there.
This is another one of those scenes where it's like she has to give like 18 reasons for why she can't be an idol. Like she lists out all of this stuff, and they're like, but of course the last one is the one they fixate on. She says, and I'm not cute enough to be an idol anyways. And they're like, oh, but you're cute.
Adorable.
We both think you're cute, in fact. And she's also thinking about how she knows that it's possible for Ruby to have like
the same success that I did.
Yeah, because she's like, I only worked with I once, but she was the real deal, and I see a lot of her in her daughter. So I can understand how this could be possible, but I don't really want to do it. So then we've got
Aquamarine on his knees to Kana saying, please be an idol with my sister.
This is the first scene in this episode that's like legitimately aggravating.
It's pretty tough. He is worried. So, his mom was killed as an idol, and he's worried about creeps like that. So he needs someone that he trusts to be around Ruby all the time while she's idling it up.
Yeah. I don't mind his reasoning so much. It's more the way that he persuades her, which is to say, he says, please be an idol, and she says, no. And then he gets closer and is like, please do it. And she's like, no. And like he's like, come on. And she's like, no, like more flustered. And then it just kind of black screens, and then they're in the idol agency, and she's just sitting there like full of guilt, like, why am I here? And I'm like, what? Okay, so
what happened? How did they get there?
Did he just keep saying it until he broke her? This is
I mean, he can be pretty intimidating.
Well,
maybe his eye got really dark while he was saying it.
Is there a phrase for intellectual assault, like
gaslighting?
I don't know if it's. I mean, he's not trying to convince her anything. He's
trying to convince her to be an
mind
idol.
break. Mind break. I don't know. He just wouldn't stop until she said yes.
Non-consensual idol behavior.
It was definitely... The funny thing about this is, in the next show we're going to talk about, there is a kind of similar scene that is actually way more raunchy and wild, and it was way funnier because contextually it made sense for like what was transpiring between the characters was set up by the entire episode, and it was like, yeah, okay, this is a great character beat that changes the nature of the relationship of those two characters in a fun way. This scene keeps saying please question mark profit, and then we're just in the next scene. Like, what does this tell us about the characters other than he's a real persistent asshole and she gave in? I don't know. It was just kind of made me sad. I was just like, doesn't make me happy about her idol career that she just kind of gave in because he wouldn't stop.
I think he might call her cute or something to really win her over.
He called her cute before that, though.
Okay.
Like, the way the scene ends is literally him like, please no, please no, please no, black screen. She's in the studio.
Welcome to Strawberry Productions. We'll give you a warm reception.
Cuts right to this, and they're like...
She's literally like crying.
She's holding
right
her
now.
seal, so she has just put her seal on the fucking thing already, and yeah.
I want to have a seal.
Bad writing. Not funny. It just...
Oh, right. After she signs it, she says she needs a shot in the arm of some type. And I don't know what she means by that.
She's saying her career needs some kind of jolt. She's like, the fact of the matter is, whether she wants any kind of work or not, she's not getting any work. So if there's anything she could do, it might be worth trying. Is the justification she's giving herself for having gotten bullied into doing this.
Well, and Strawberry Productions is a very famous idol producer.
Yeah, though she doesn't really, Kana doesn't really believe in this yet. Even though she has signed up for it, it's going to take a while before she thinks that there's anything really going on here.
Yuki Sumi. I don't quite remember this girl. I think
okay.
she's been in the earlier episodes, right?
No, this is actually the first shot that she's introduced.
Is she in the TV show?
Yes.
Okay.
So we cut to, this is, the way this scene is framed is interesting because, at the end of the previous episode, we set up that Aquamarine is doing a new show with a guy whose name was in his mom's locked phone
that he
found
years
out about through
trying
Kana.
to open.
Yes. And this guy explicitly tells him, well, we're going to get to this in a second, but what the guy tells him is, if you do this show, I'll tell you about the men who your mom was with. And then he's in the show. The way we're introduced to what the show is that Kana and Ruby are watching it on their laptop in Strawberry Productions with the producer mom slash adoptive mother over at her desk. And so they're watching the first episode of the show, and it's introducing all the characters, and basically it's kind of a creepy, because all the characters like first year high school students, and it's like
pretty weird.
It's like
it's a
like
dating show.
Like influencer dating show, I guess I'd call it, or something.
Yeah, I don't know. They're all just trying to date. I think the idea is whoever's the cutest couple wins.
Something like that. It's it's just like a really vapid dating show.
It's a weird show.
And
throughout this, both Ruby and Kana are having panic attacks because they both have crushes on them or on Aqua for some reason.
I mean, I don't know if Ruby has a crush on him so much as
she's mad that he's in a dating show.
She's just upset that her brother is acting this way. 'Cause, like, she says, isn't my brother a sulky guy who gives off a gloomy aura? Like, she's upset that he's putting on this character and trying to act like a different person because she sees it as he's doing this to try to pick up chicks.
I see.
And Kana is upset because she sees it like, well, how can he be okay with, like, kissing girls just for... Okay, I really hate this next... Hold on, I have to get to the next slide. This was the next thing that really fucking pissed me off.
Oh, she's crying now. Why do you ever agree to be on the show? I mean...
she has to be told off by, like, the producer, like, yeah, he's gonna have to do, like, kiss scenes in movies and stuff. Like, if he's really gonna be an actor. But, like... And I think she even says, like, you too... Like... I can't believe that Kana, the character who's been super fucking serious about being a real actress, who's like, yeah, I can cry on command and all this shit, like, she doesn't know or has never thought about the idea that she'd have to do a romantic scene.
Do you think maybe it's like...
Come on.
Jealousy that he's getting acting roles?
No, I think it's purely jealousy that she's in love with him already, and she's upset that, well, she says something to the effect of, he only called me cute when he was trying to get me to work for you.
That is true.
And meanwhile,
maybe it's all an act.
He's calling these girls cute or on TV, right? So she feels like sort of used, and the mom has to sort of be like, guys, he's an actor. It's a show.
Have you considered he might put on a fake personality?
Yeah, like, why wouldn't he act the way that's going to win him the most screen time and be the last person on like, that's what you do when you go on TV. Again, I don't mind that there's like a scene explaining this, or like, if it was just, this should have been Ruby overreacting to her brother acting this way, and then Kana explaining, like, seething through gritting teeth about how, well, he's a serious actor, so of course he's gonna have to kiss a girl, like, being upset because she understands, not because she doesn't understand, because that's not her character. So this really pissed me off.
You were very upset.
Yeah. So at this point, I would have thought I thought I was gonna give this episode like a 4 or a 3. It has a major pickup at the end that we will get to that redeems the episode majorly, which is why I was saying that some 5 out of 10s are like, half of it was really frustrating and half of it was really good, so it lands in the middle somewhere. Because this is a show, I have to say this real quick, because, I feel like I'm going really hard in on this show that I know a lot of people like, and I don't want to seem like I'm bullying it, because there's a lot of people who...
Why? You should be punching up, not punching down.
Well, there's a lot of people who really hate this show because it's popular, because it's really obvious, and... we went into it not knowing anything about it. So I was excited about it, thinking, look at all these high scores. And, like, it had this really
it beat
purple
Full Metal
color
Alchemist.
art.
That's huge.
Yeah. So I was excited, but then we watched it and we were kind of like, this isn't really our type of show. But it had a lot of interesting ideas, and the first episode was really dense. And then it kind of, in my opinion, has been iffy ever since that point. Like, I would say the first episode I would have given like a 7 out of 10, and now we're at a point where I'm like kind of sitting at a 5 with this show. And it's just because, again, it feels like it thinks through certain things to way too much of an extent, where like characters go too far explaining certain things and going through redundancies, and then there's other stuff that it's like, well, wait, but what about every other aspect of these people's lives that we could have been learning about that would, enrich them in all these different ways? And then you've got the inconsistencies in the characterization, and so it just becomes such a clusterfuck that it's hard for me to like.
Like we mentioned that the director of the show is going to tell Aqua everything about Ai, but that doesn't even come up until now.
And so this is the scene where he specifically says that he will give him the inside scoop on stuff that even the agency didn't know, including men that she's been with. And I just had to think about this, like, it would be interesting if the twist that this is building to is that Aqua, in his youth, isn't cynical enough and thought that this guy would have a lot more info than he does, and the guy's just kind of like, I don't really even know any, like,
But he's probably going to know everything.
I was just using you. If that's the case, then I really have to be like, how could there be a guy who knows things that the people who were surrounding her all the time don't know? That Aqua couldn't figure out through investigation actively over years. Like, it just...
I had 3 phones. She was a real crafty bitch.
I guess so, but like, how much hours in the day is there for you to do all this shit? Like, she's watching her kids.
I mean,
she's
she doesn't
doing stuff
sleep
with
much.
Strawberry Production. She's apparently got a whole fucking sex life on the side. By the way, she had the kids when she was 16. So how many relationships had she had by then?
That is a great question, because the director does say men, like multiple guys that she'd been with.
And if she had been with other guys, did she just keep them away from her kids and the producers and everybody, and nobody knew about them? How the fuck did she get away with that? Are we gonna learn all of this?
Probably, maybe.
I hope so. It's just a lot. It's a lot for me to just like kind of be okay with as the setup for what we're going forward with as the plot. So then we have this whole scene where...
This is another kind of infuriating scene, I think. I didn't enjoy this one very much, but I can't... So they're on the dating show, right?
Yeah.
They're being recorded, just milling about doing stuff, and so Aqua's talking to Suki? What's her name? Oh, whatever. The model girl.
Yeah.
And the model girl just kind of... goes, I don't know what we're supposed to talk about, and then immediately reveals that she's like really meta and aware of everything, and the cameras are watching us. Maybe we'll kiss sometime, and I don't know.
It's a weird conversation because she starts off talking about how she has never had a relationship before, and how like, you shouldn't think that everybody just because they're a celebrity has automatically had a relationship. But then she gets all up in his face, is like, maybe if they want us to kiss, I'd do it with you. Cameras are on us. So he basically just concludes that she, I guess I had screen caps of all of that stuff. He concludes that she's kind of a snake, I guess, through this. She didn't seem that manipulative.
She just kind of seemed aware of the game.
Yeah, well, I mean, it seemed like she was inviting him to play along with her, recognizing him as somebody who also is very clearly putting on a character.
And trying to win.
It was just odd to me that he kind of was like, oh.
He just blew her up.
She's like this, huh? And
it's like, you're like this.
Yeah,
what are you talking
exactly.
about,
It seems
dude?
like you two should get along, actually. And funnily enough...
So he goes home, and Ruby is talking to him about, we have to we have to figure out the game plan here. We have to figure out who you're going to end up being with. I looked into all of these girls and their social medias, and I think Aqua just kind of goes, that's weird. And then Ruby decides that the girl that Aqua has decided is a snake is the best candidate because she's a pure-hearted good girl. And Aqua immediately brushes her off and goes, you should really not date for a couple years. You're not a great judge of character, which is really funny.
I see, and that's a character beat I like, because I do think it's fun to set her up as somebody who, like, we have kind of seen that she doesn't seem like a good judge of character, or she just doesn't. She doesn't empathize with people very well, I guess. Like, the way she introduced herself to the pink-haired girl was, like, Googling her to her face, and she's, like, saying, funny. This is making me uncomfortable, and she just keeps doing it. So, like, she's definitely a bit of a bonehead, but, yeah, I thought it was fun that he kind of said that to her.
Friggin' bonies.
How am I supposed to explain to my parents I'm a self-proclaimed idol with no track record? So Kana's just, like... Even though she signed the papers, she won't, like, pick a name for the group. She's just kind of being an emo about it. She doesn't want to have to tell her parents that she's considering herself an idol when she hasn't actually done anything yet.
It's also strange because we haven't ever seen Kana's parents before. They've never been a factor. It's not really... I don't know. But neither of them can come up with a name. I don't think they do until later in the episode, really.
This is another case where I kind of feel frustrated with her character, where it's like... She didn't strike me as the type of person who would get lazy about something she signed up to do as, like, a, professionalist. Like, I mean, granted, maybe she just can't take seriously that they're starting with picking I don't know, you need a name, right? Like, it's frustrating.
Oh, the episode is going to pick back up again.
Yeah, so
Here
this
we go.
is why this episode was able to climb up to a 5 out of 10, is because of how strong...
The mom / manager / agent of everyone basically goes, you guys have no name recognition. No one knows who you are. We need to get you some traction.
Yeah.
So what we're going to do is get you on YouTube. And the girls kind of scoff at her going, how could you possibly know about YouTube? What's going on? And she goes, Strawberry Productions is actually managing 50 very high successful
Turns out there's
YouTubers.
A reason we can keep the fucking lights on in this place. It's because we do in fact employ other people, such as this massive bodybuilder with a little chicken head on.
He's great.
I think he's called Pyeon-chan.
That sounds right.
Pyeon-kun? Something like that? Pyeon-kun?
But so the girls have to do a collab with this guy, and at first they're kind of like, this guy couldn't possibly be popular. What's going on here? And to his face and everything.
Kind of thinks he's a pervert. She's just like, oh, gross. It's a pervert. Disgusting. And then he just comes up and goes, I bring in 100 million yen a year. And she's like, I'm sorry.
Which is $760,000, I think.
God damn. That is a lot of fucking money. That is a high-rolling YouTuber. Let me tell you, I have never made anywhere near that amount of money in my career as a YouTuber. So he's on the big side, I would say.
He's doing a great job.
Yeah. So they agree to go on his program and be coached by him in how to be YouTubers. And this is a scene I really like because he asks them, what do you think you need to do to be popular on YouTube? And one says, have name recognition. And the other says, post daily uploads. And he says, but you two have neither name recognition nor the perseverance to post daily, right? And she's just like, oh, damn. But yeah, I mean, most people don't. Our friend Mint Salad posts a movie review every single day. That is fucking perseverance. 256 days, I think, running now. And I've done the daily grind a few times, just where I was like, hey, I'm going to post every fucking day. And work consumes your life.
Let's hope it doesn't come to that.
No, I don't think I have the perseverance to post daily, personally. But I do have the perseverance to do something like this, which is where they do Taibo for, like, do you know about Taibo?
No. I mean, it's like working out. I watched this scene.
You ever seen the it's like this, like, a strong black dude in a military outfit, like camo pants and a tank top, and I think he wears a beret.
Okay.
And I can't remember his goddamn name, but he did these workout tapes called Taibo, or it'd be like, a bunch of people behind him, they're doing like, action punches and stuff. It's been parodied in a bunch of anime, and it's really funny because back in the 90s, this was something they would show us, like, at school. Billy Blanks. They would show us Taibo, like, tapes in PE in, like, elementary school. And then I've seen it parodied in, like, Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei, and it seems like the bit that they're going for here. Although this type of character also just is obviously so Japan, so YouTube, so obvious. Like, yeah, it's a great bit. I do believe that this is an idea that would work.
Yeah.
And it's honestly rare in any shows or movies or anything that tries to tackle social media that it's handled believably at all. It's usually like they post a video and it just has views for no reason. So like the fact that there is some understanding of how YouTube works and what would be a success, doing a collaboration. I also love the opening monologue he gives at the start of the stream is like, he's like, am I a virtuoso who's only here for the customer? No, I am the whipped peon-kun who does whatever the company tells me.
Oh, right.
Today I'm promoting these idols because I have to, but I'm going to make them do...
Because I don't want to do it, they have to do my routine for an hour.
Yeah, they have to do a whole hour of this, which is a lot.
It starts to get really complex.
Yeah, and they're sweating it up. I thought these shots were really nice whenever they did the zoom in with them just like in the hats fucking
it was pretty fun.
Burning alive. And this is a really cute shot.
Oh yeah, so they both fall over like at an hour and 53 seconds or something. And Pyeong-kun goes, "All right, girls, introduce yourselves," while they're laying on the ground exhausted. And they go, "My name is Ruby Hoshino, and I'm a self-proclaimed idol." And then Kana goes, "My name's Kana, I don't remember my last name, and I'm a self-proclaimed idol." And then Pyeong-kun goes, "What's your name? What's your idol group's name? What are we going to call you?" And do you have a screen cap of that, or should I just say it?
Oh, I was just going to say that I need more of this this subtly sweaty, messy look. But yeah, she decides to name the idol group
Bikamachi, which is Ai's idol group name.
So this was also where... Another thing that frustrates me about this show, how has nobody figured out that they're her fucking kids yet?
Yeah, they have the same last name, and they have the Star Eyes thing.
And they've been around. They weren't hidden anymore.
They were doing
at the
idol
funeral.
dances when they were
I guess everybody just has always thought that they were the producer's daughters.
That's the
kids,
idea, yeah.
So maybe people just haven't questioned that. But yeah, they don't have the producer's last name. She introduces herself as Hoshino and then takes her mom's idol. So I don't know if that's the route they're about to go, is that everybody's going to find out that they're her kids.
Then maybe it will become a huge boost in views.
I don't know. There's so many loose threads and open-ended possibilities with this show of what can happen. And it's so hard for me to like expect that it's going to be satisfying and have good payoffs when there are so many things that frustrate me about it. When like the characters are inconsistent, when the writing doesn't fill in the gaps and like really tell me about the people so I don't feel like Ruby is a person. You know, she's just like and she feels disconnected from the little girl that we originally knew, who was like
She was really stubborn and like really into idols and didn't take shit.
Yeah, she didn't come off as like a total idiot who didn't understand people when she was like in her original life.
I mean, she was only like 8,
a different person to me.
She didn't have as much experience as
Maybe
Aqua.
It's the trauma. Maybe it broke her mind.
Star Eyes thing is just for us, the audience. Oh.
M says she's just a nepo baby. We have a couple of super chats to read before we move on to the next show. Do we want to give a score to Oshinoko? I gave it a 5 out of 10 for this episode.
Yeah, I'd agree. 5 out of 10. The first half of this was really hard to watch, but Birdman was cool. I hope we see more of him. I don't think we will.
All right, so MNNM with
M&M
30 shekels says, "Sup, did you notice how new anime stopped doing next episode previews? Guess it's because the industry is changing to fit streaming or whatever, but I do miss any piece that spoil the next episode. It's fun."
You know, as someone who spoils things for himself, I've never really enjoyed the previews, because usually I'm just going to watch the next episode, and if it's not out, I'll just look up what happens in the manga. But, I don't know, the previews can be fun.
I very rarely have watched previews when I watch anime, so I don't really miss it. I have still seen some shows that have them. They're not completely gone, but there's only a few anime I can think of where like the next episode previews were actually memorable in some way, like Evangelion, where like Misato would just rant about giving you fan service and shit. So, like some of them can be cute. Cardcaptor Sakura, but yeah, I don't know. If more anime were doing things with them over the years, I might miss them more. Mike Hunt with Australian $2 says, "Time to write your own manga." I mean, I've tried many times over the years. As a creative writer, I really struggle with completing a story. It's very easy for me to come up with like core ideas and concepts and like initial sparking events, but then how do I get that to the end point is always difficult for me. So, maybe one day I'll actually complete some kind of creative work. Anyway, that's all the super chats for now. If you super chat us, we will read it in between the shows. But we're moving on to the next show, which is one that I actually liked a whole lot this time.
KamiKatsu.
KamiKatsu episode 6. And this is an example of like an 8 out of 10 episode for me.
It was really, really good.
Because stuff happened and it was funny. And there were plot twists and character developments, and I liked it. It opens with this. This is one of those things where I went back through the episode and like this pink-haired girl, I didn't remember that it showed her at the start of the episode. She's important later on, but I wouldn't have known that the first time watching it. So I came back through and was like, "Oh shit, that's the
Archon."
Yeah,
I'm just gonna say it. She's an Archon.
Yeah.
Which are the pseudo gods that the old empire created.
But this is basically like explicitly letting us know we're about to start the next arc because this is the result of the previous arc. They blew up the system. They grew a big fucking Yggdrasil tree mushroom cloud out of the...
Why don't they make a base in the tree? That would be a great idea.
It would be cool.
They could get a lot more followers that way, right?
Yeah, they probably should leave the village. Although they've kind of been bringing people to it to like convince them that they need to get all the technology they have from there. But yeah, so this is foreshadowing that we're going to have some new bosses in town. But everybody's fucking celebrating because
the Empire is dead. We're not going to be forced to kill ourselves anymore.
Yeah.
Yay.
Woo!
We did it. And that's pretty much the scene. Yeah, I don't know, we did it. And Loki is like, haha, well, you did do it, but have you thought about what's going to happen later?
Right.
Have you thought about what's coming next? And Yukito just kind of goes, if you're going to cause harm to this village, I'll take you out.
Throughout this whole scene, the other one, what's her name?
Atar.
Atar? God damn, I was way
or
off.
Atar.
Yeah, no.
Atar.
Ataru. Atar, she's just like fucking depressed. She's like, my whole purpose in life is gone. I have nothing left. Loki's just kind of like, yeah, this is fun, but I need you to know that like all of the Archons are basically gods. And they function the same way. Where like if they get more belief, they get more power.
Well, I think we learned that in the last episode.
Well, I think Loki just says like they're all gonna be like trying to do shit. Like they're all gonna try to become like real gods now. And then we have Pervert Man is like,
I can't believe Clen was a girl after all.
Clen, you were a hot chick and I'm into it. And Loki's like,
you weren't so bad after all.
And so Loki
he just freaks out. Oh,
Loki puts his hand on their
boob,
and is like really pushing in and moaning like they're about to fuck, and then she transforms into male form and teleports behind him and laughs. Haha, you've been tricked. You're gay now. It's pretty funny. I liked it. It was a good scene. And then Loki also fucks with Swords.
Bertrand.
Swordsman, yeah. Wow, you remember the
name.
Bertrand, yeah. So as Loki is leaving town, because everybody's like, "Hey, we're gonna do our own thing," and Loki's like, "I'm going off to try to become my own god or whatever.
I'm gonna go to the capital for what? I don't know." And
Bertrand's like, "I'm gonna follow you because I don't trust you, and
if you bring harm to this village, I'll kill you." And then Loki says, "Well, I'm at a disadvantage in combat." But then she turns Bertrand back into a guy, and he's like, "Whoa, I'm a guy again. Yeah, woohoo." And then she turns him back and goes, "But I can still use my powers, unlike Atar."
Basically just, gives hope to take it away, just to demonstrate that, like, there's nothing you can do against me. I can psychologically destroy you. And then Bertrand just kind of decides to follow Loki. Like, hey, well, I don't know. You worked for the Capitol, so I guess I work for you now. And they go off. I think it makes a pretty fun duo to see. Like,
it'll be a good B plot.
Yeah, I hope that's what they're going for with them, is that they're going to do something just totally else from what everyone else is doing. So, okay, I want to talk a little bit about the voice acting in this show, because I often forget to touch on, like, the audio elements. I kind of did with Oshi no Ko along the way. But this show, it's really low budget. Like, the animation is very stilted. The character art looks good some of the time. There are good shots, but there's a lot of just like wonky, kind of cheap animation and reused stills and stuff like that. And the music also sounds really cheap compared to any other show this season. It's not the worst soundtrack. I like some of the songs. I like the way they're used in the scenes. They're fun, but it's all like borderline like MIDI music where you've got like Oshi no Ko with this really expensive sounding music. When you put them back to back, it's a lot more obvious what I'm talking about. But the voice acting in KamiKatsu is really good and sells a lot of the comedy, and is where I think it hits, at least in the Japanese dub. I don't know if there's an English one. I haven't looked into who all of the voice actors are yet, but I was struck in particular by Atar because she was just going above and beyond. Like,
yeah.
for being... This is, like a goofy comedy show.
With strange beasts.
It's, like, really hard to take seriously. But Atar is a really serious character who thinks that this situation is, like, life or death and really meaningful. And so she's constantly, like, torqued to 11, like, emotionally. And I was like, man, her voice sounds really good. Who is... Of course, it's Yuki Aoi, my favorite voice actress. So I learned this and I was like, oh, of course. Like, I haven't been in the loop with anime for a little bit, so I just didn't recognize her instantly.
Who is she again? What has she been in other than this?
Oh man, well, you would know her best from, she was the giant girl in Seven Deadly Sins.
Right, Diane.
Yeah, and I was going through her work, and like in 2011 alone, she was in like 10 different shows where she was one of my favorite characters in that show. So for sure, one of my favorite voice actresses. So yeah, I after I saw that she was in it, I was like, okay, at least there's one thing they spent a lot of money on at this show, just like hiring the best cast that they could for this type of material, and I think it pays off a lot.
But so right before this screen cap, one of the sisters, I can't remember which one, comes up and says, well, you're sad, eat some ice cream. You'll feel a lot better if you eat something tasty. And she just kind of sits there and doesn't say anything. And then Yukito comes up and says, Atar, what if we make you a god, too? What if we have you have followers?
He pretty much gives her head pats and immediately converts her because she's, being shown any kind of affection. And he has her a new bowl of ice cream because the first one melted. She tastes it and is blown away. So yeah, she agrees to be a part of the scheme, and now he's going to promote both of them as gods. But
Nitama is not happy about this.
Is he a lolicon?
Very much so.
We don't know for sure, but it's hard to say who he's interested in, if anybody. And we have a cutaway
to an orgy.
A crazy
bunch of people
fucking
moaning.
Orgy in like a Shinto temple. And this purple-haired girl with glasses is watching over it, and just kind of, we don't really know what's going on, but we're like, whoa, crazy, sexy times. This is what has become of Atar as of, like, a short time skip. She
just loves food now. That's all she's about.
Well, you notice she also looks completely fucking different.
Oh, yeah, she doesn't have that thing anymore.
She's no longer blue. She has no horn. She has no all the extra stuff. She's just like
she's
a cute
wearing
little
a
girl
bow.
who likes ice cream now. So yeah, she's been totally transformed into a regular lolly by the power of ice cream.
And believers, I guess?
Yeah, I guess the believers probably helps too. So
any founder of a mid-sized group can convert any unprepared civilian with a 99% success rate.
I hope this is true, because I feel like we are founders of a mid-sized group right now. Like We Watch Anime is a decently sized group. So we're gonna just grab every anime watching civilian and
watch anime with
convert them into We Watch Anime listeners.
But so this scene comes up, and they learn that there's another faith with an Archon who has 10,000 believers, and they have to go undercover to get there. and everyone but Yukito is kind of taking it not very seriously, and he gets really mad and yells at them that they're going to be turned. They're going to get converted to the other faith because they're not smart or whatever.
Well, and because he knows what must be the answer to how they're doing this is sex. He draws out like all these equations and shit on the white blackboard to explain this, and then he just screams like sex. So the
Speaking of sex, it was so deep.
The sister who runs the pub is like
the older
not
sister.
Interested in a sex adventure. Even though
Despite making dirty jokes and being really raunchy and forcing her little sister to be in really skimpy outfits.
She's not actually trying to get laid like that. She's a little bit standoffish, whereas the younger sister is like clearly DTF. DTF! And so is, of course, Pervert Man. So they both had a really enjoyable time getting the sex lecture. The bird and bee talk, if you will.
Sure. Yes, I understand.
Yeah, see, everybody gets what we're doing now, right? Yeah, I know a lot of you probably didn't even think about it. You were just like, bird, bee? I mean, what's the connection between these two things? Anyway.
Birds like eat bees, right?
Is that what the birds and the bees is about?
Yeah, like bee, bird.
It eats it?
I'm joking.
Is that the? I've never gotten the birds and the bees
in real
talk.
life.
And
I mean,
I don't know exactly how birds and bees correlate to the exact. I guess it's because of eggs and stamens and flower petal.
Bird.
He's doing this motion where he's just putting his finger through a hole made by his other fingers on his other hand and saying bee bird over and over again. What does this mean? Nobody knows.
That's what the birds and the bees are, I think.
The birds getting stung by the bees is a metaphor for sex?
Yeah, see?
Okay. So, as they're heading up to this sex temple, these women are walking out talking about how they thought of a move called the Nunupple Penetration Revolver.
I don't know what that could possibly be. Oh, I have an Urban Dictionary it.
I mean, it's 9-person being penetrated by a revolver. I don't know.
That doesn't sound ideal.
So yeah, I thought this was hilarious. There's a lot of build-up to this is a really well-crafted scene because what it's commenting on is the sexual excitement that people get just from, concepts rather than actually going anywhere with it. There's just tons of dirty talk all through this scene, tons of build-up to the idea of sex.
And that this girl, Riche, is the best at sex.
Yes, she's like the sex queen.
She can make people come by looking at them. And
she
that's
wears
why she
those
has to wear
glasses to contain her power. They say this multiple times as she's walking down the halls.
And smiling smugly.
And everybody's just like, oh my god, she could fuck an army all at once.
Yeah.
She's the
she made 100 or 1,000 people come all at one night. And then some girl comes up to her and is like, how do I do the tentacle right if there aren't any tentacles?
Yeah, where can I find some tentacles to get tentacle fucked with? And then she's like, well, if you think of something as a tentacle, it becomes a tentacle. Fingers, other
feet,
appendages, whatever you got that you
noses,
can use for a tentacle.
Ears.
Can be a tentacle. And just the way she explains this while touching the girl's hand is enough to make that girl orgasm. So this is her power at work. She's just suggesting...
She can talk to people in this medieval world very sexually and make them come.
They haven't seen the devastation of pornography that we have in the modern world. So anyways, in order for them to have a meeting with the Archon leader...
They have to join the cult.
They have to join the cult, which requires them to be split into pairs. So main guy is split up with the younger sister of the bar owner, and...
Mitama is split up with the pervert.
Yes.
I'm sure this will end well.
We follow our main man, Yukito, as he meets this girl who turns out to be kind of like a gyaru, loud, just poppy girl.
She just kind of says, "Hey, I still meet all the new followers. Isn't that great? Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
bye. I have to
And
go."
she takes a picture of each of them on her phone right before she leaves, which apparently is
I think
the
that's
love
the
spell.
power, yeah.
So this makes them both irrationally horny. Now, luckily, Yukito has been trained in all
Luckily.
manners.
I don't know.
In all manners of cult, deceit. So he is able to overcome this. But of course, I really like this shot. This
yeah,
looks
it's a great shot.
I'm
Al
a big
has
fan
that dog in her.
variable line widths. When when you've got like thicker and thinner parts of the lines, I think that always adds a lot of sexuality to an image if you can do it well. It emphasizes curves better.
So Yukito just basically goes, "Snap out of it, stop being all sexual," and then perverted guy comes crashing through the wall, and Mitama's going like, "Murder, kill, torture, I'll end," blah, blah, blah. And then she sees Yukito and goes, "Oh, hey, Yukito," and then she sees Al with her shirt off and goes, "What was happening here?"
Yeah, this perverted trash human tried to defile me, she says.
Oh, right.
What transpires next? Purple-haired girl like meets with the leader, and she's just like, "Yeah, I set their horny to maximum, so like,
be careful.
Just, go in there and do whatever you got to do." And she goes in and sees that nobody is fucking, and
Mitama's repairing a wall.
Yeah, she's like, "What the fuck's going on in here?"
And Yukito goes, "Pretend like you never saw anything," and then he starts seducing her.
Yes.
He just basically does the thing that she was doing to everyone else.
An amazing
scene.
Transformation sequence, like a reality
He just takes
breakaway.
his shirt off.
I think his clothes just explode off. Yeah, and he does like a pose, and so he comes up and starts, basically trying to seduce
We don't
her.
really know what he's doing exactly.
Well, he pulls her glasses off, and it leads... He's like, "I bet you won't be so defensive without those glasses." And as soon as that happens, just the force of him being all studly and getting close, we learn that she actually hasn't had sex. She isn't really a huge pervert.
Even though she is breasting boobily right now.
She has basically just been using this power of suggestion, but because of the fact that he is even better at using that exact same power of suggestion, he overpowers her, even though she literally says it's non-consensual.
But still.
This is the funniest thing I saw in this episode. This is what I was talking about, though, this is the exact opposite of how I felt in the Oshi no Ko scene. And it's really funny because this is explicitly sexual. This is basically rape.
Yeah.
That we're laughing at here. And I know a lot of people are going to say this isn't funny.
I'm not laughing
Shouldn't be joking.
I would never laugh at it. I'm not joking.
I thought this scene was hilarious because, she has been doing this to people she's a cult leader, a cult acolyte, one of the top members of a cult, who spends all of her time, mostly. Her direct superior is brainwashing people through magic to make them extremely horny, and then she just goes around like making people come so that they'll stay in this cult. She gets her comeuppance by the realization that she could be hoisted by her own petard. Where's uppance?
Who's uppance?
So it all has meaning within the story, whether it makes you uncomfortable or not, whether you think it's funny or not. It is meaningful plot progression in a way that Oshi no Ko wasn't, where it was just like he just bullied her into doing it, and it just seemed unrealistic. We never understood exactly how it even happened. Like in this, we know exactly what he did. As he puts it, he doesn't. I didn't.
She just goes, "I've been defiled."
He says, "I don't know. I didn't do anything. This woman just orgasmed on her own and passed out."
Right, because Mitama wakes up and is really upset.
I don't know why, but this woman randomly orgasmed on her own and passed out. Is his version.
She literally pisses herself.
She's like, "I've been defiled." She's in shame, but ultimately she's like,
"Help me destroy this cult. I don't want to make people bang no more.
If you guys are stronger than me, maybe you're stronger than the cult leader, and you can actually save us." So yeah, that's how the episode ends. I thought.
Hey,
it was
wait, weird thing.
Great.
Do you think Atar and Mitama will ever be able to do a fusion form? Like Goten?
That would be awesome. I hope so. That'll be a lot of fun.
Or
This show-
Gotenks, I think is what I mean.
I love it's always willing to go all the way with its its raunchy sense of humor. It's similar to like Konosuba in the way that it's just all in on like this is some otaku comedy.
Does
like,
Konosuba have a lot of boobs?
It does. There's a whole
Call that
brothel.
Konobuba.
I have called it that many times.
Darn.
Don't you worry.
I'm not original.
Well, because Konosuba, they don't wear bras in that show. No one wears a bra.
What do you mean? Do they address this specifically?
Yeah, well, it's not even so much addressed as just it was a rule in the animation direction. So, like, it's very evident. None of the characters have bras. They don't exist in that
We
world.
got to catch up on this show and then that Megaman thing. Vote for Megaman.
Yeah, I'm so glad Ellen Horizon said in the chat it has the legs to go the distance, because that is exactly what I was planning to say about this show. This episode proved that to me. Because, end of a first arc, you never know if the show's going to stay good. Because it's easier to write a book one than it is to write. I know. I've got an isekai that's incomplete. Because I don't want to write shit. And I don't make money, so I have no rush to publish a bunch of crap. But this one, so far, I like the direction it's going. I would say it has stayed funny. It's stayed creative. And
I've liked this show pretty much the whole time. This was just a really, really good episode.
Yeah.
I was very happy with it. I'm excited to see the next episode. There also, I want to see more god fights. The Archons are cool. I want to see all of them. We got a little bit of a view of them, I think. No, I'm thinking of Mashal. Sorry.
So yeah, I would give that episode an 8 out of 10. We're gonna
8
move
out of
along.
10, yeah.
We don't have any super chats right now, but if you leave any, we will read them and give a response in between episodes that we talk about.
Just to address, I'll pay you to finish the book. I can't pay a lot.
Don't worry, I'll do it.
It'll get there. Wait, which book? Good People?
No, they don't know about that. They only know about Kusamega.
Oh, okay. Should I have not said that? My bad.
No, it's fine.
Can you work with like $20?
Okay, so we had to do a little bit of catch up this week because I didn't quite have a full grasp of exactly when every show comes out yet. So, The Dangers in My Heart, I don't remember the Japanese title, I just remember it as Yabai in my own mind. But this show comes out on Saturdays, so there had been an episode that dropped like right before we did our recording.
That
by
we missed.
that I mean like 12 hours probably, but yeah, we hadn't seen episode 6. So we watched episode 6 and 7 to talk about today. So
episode 6 is they're lost in the train station, right?
Yeah, and
picking back up. This
one I thought was kind of mid.
Yeah.
I would give this one a 6 out of 10. And we'll go into why. But I do appreciate and understand. I think there's a lot of people who will like this show a lot more than me. I
like it a lot.
The fan base of this show is pretty endeared to it, and especially manga readers seem to suggest that it goes in a great direction. That person I mentioned earlier, Kito Senpai, had a short about this just the other day, talking about how the development of the main character is apparently very satisfying. I would love to see that. I'm going to be in for the long haul for as much of the show as they make, so I will be gratified by that. But I don't know if they'll make more than like 13 episodes of this as an anime. I might have to read the manga.
Well, they did
I
just
get
set
to
up
that.
like a 2-year goal thing. Oh wait, that's next episode. I'm sorry, but they did, at least in the story, say we might have the legs to go the distance.
I hope. It's again. It seems like people like this thing. So if it's popular enough to get another season, I'll be happy to see the characters develop and everything. But this episode is an example of like, it's clear to me where the show is going and what it's trying to say, but it's really taking its time. It's really moving at like what I would consider a realistic pace, but in a way that makes it feel like you're literally living through this kid's middle school experience.
Which is, it can be boring sometimes.
It can be boring and just not enjoyable or frustrating because...
He's also not schizo-posting as much. Actually, in this episode, he does quite a bit of it, but it's not as interesting.
This is the least funny episode, for sure. There's not as many gags. Maybe the fact that it's becoming more of like a rom-com and in its dramatic moments at this point is part of why it's less enjoyable for me.
But so, they missed the train. Anna is crying, and I forget what's his no, I was gonna call him Nyaoja, the Sprigatito.
You're gonna call him a Pokemon name?
What's his name?
I
was about to call him Nijimaru.
Oh man, now you've got me thinking of him as a Pokemon.
He kind of is a Pokemon. This is the danger in my heart.
Yeah.
But so our main guy, the kid, doesn't know really what to do, so he gives her milk tea. I don't remember what she says, but she says something that kind of offends him, and he sits really far away.
No, it's not even that. He just does that. That's just the way he is.
He's an incel.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, and it's kind of a focus in this episode, because she keeps having moments with him where,
she's obviously into him.
Okay, his name is Kyotaro.
Kyotaro.
Kyotaro is, trying to help her out because he admires her from a distance. He's obviously in love with her. He knows this himself, but he doesn't think he has any chance with her. He doesn't think there's any reason she would acknowledge him. He just doesn't seem to have any sense of self-worth.
Yeah.
And I get that. I've been there.
Do you think he's trans?
No, but I've thought of the topic came into my mind. I brought it up on earlier episodes because he just likes to kind of watch girls hang out.
He does do a lot of that.
Not really try to interject in it in any way, and it kind of feels like, I don't know, would he be happier if he was a part of it, or is he happier just getting to see it? What does he want? What role does he want to have in these?
He just
girls'
wants to
lives?
be in the room where it happens.
I guess so. So it's hard to say exactly, what his. He's got a weird personality, and the show is really fixated on exploring that. So I understand why, if you connect with this character. I mean, speaking for me personally, he is less awkward than I was at his age, because I didn't talk to girls at all until I was at least in late high school, and even then I barely could. So the fact that he is even hanging out with her, even getting to
keeping
a point
up a
where,
friendly rapport.
Yeah, that they're hanging out outside school, that he, and it was for a lot of the same reasons that I would be that way. Is I just thought of myself as well, if people aren't actively telling me that they want me to be around them, then I'm just not going to believe that necessarily, or I'll fixate on all the things I did wrong, or all the awkward things, or all the reasons that somebody wouldn't want me there, and I also would stand, kind of standoffish, be kind of at the back of the group, just kind of watching things happen. So again, I get this character.
The whole reason they got lost is because he didn't announce to the group that he had to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, he just kind of slinked off and did it, which is also something I might do and get lost for the same reason. So, but again, I in middle school would not have gone walking around a city with a group of friends. That was not a stage of life I was at yet.
It's a school thing. They went to a career. They were shadowing people.
They weren't here for no reason. But still, yeah, I mean, Japan is a different place as well. People are more used to commuting to school on their own accord. They don't have a school bus, system the way we do here. I, as a kid, did no personal travel until I was in high school.
Commuting on their own accord? Yeah, that's a good car.
So anyways, yeah, so Kyotaro's awkwardness, I understand it, I can relate to it, I get why people would connect with this character, but the act of watching him be awkward and really slowly transition isn't always fun. And the next episode is better than this one, so it's not like absolutely. I think this show is not capable of picking itself up or going in a good direction. I just think, for me, not every stage of the ride was something I necessarily felt like I needed to experience, especially because it is repetitive. We get it. This is why I say it's realistic, because in real life, people don't just change all of a sudden, but it really is, we're going through all of it with them. So you have to have some patience for the type of characters that these are. This is a scene where, once they're on the train, he's kind of, again, standing way too far apart from her, and she's actively hey, I would be more comfortable to hang on to you, she grabs his backpack. she's talking about how some of their classmates are dating, and she's like, pretty crazy dating someone from the same class, huh? And
Huh? Isn't it crazy?
Yeah, it
Isn't that
sure
wild?
is.
Hmm.
Here's
Hinting,
another scene.
maybe?
So when they catch up to the others,
The short girl that's her best friend apologizes for losing her.
yeah, she's like, I can't believe I didn't notice you guys weren't here.
Oh, they also have a bunch of snacks now.
But I took this screen cap specifically. Yeah, he bought her a bunch of snacks, which I knew he was gonna do.
Oh wait,
right
no,
away.
that's later.
This scene, that's skipping Loafer. Actually, it's a whole different show. But I screen capped this because once again he is standing so comically far away from everybody else. And so I, as a dissociative person, I have a problem of sometimes when I'm in a group of people, if I go into my own head, I kind of forget that everyone else can still see me, that I'm still visibly present, and whatever like from everyone else's perspective, I'm just staring into space like a crazy person.
It's like that meme of that guy at the party, and you're just going, they don't even know I'm visibly present right now.
Exactly. And I'm usually watching what everyone else is doing and saying. I'm listening to everybody, I'm thinking about what they're saying or doing or whatever, but a lot of the times it's just that whatever response I would have is something I don't want to say. So I just don't say anything. But it just looks like I'm kind of either not paying attention or just unbelievably quiet. And I do tend to put myself in sort of a position where I can see everything that's happening as opposed to being in the middle of it, So I connect with it, but it still is frustrating. When I saw it, I literally went, this little fucking freak, out loud.
What's happening
He literally
here?
thinks
They're all making fun of him. He's schizo posting again.
that they are he's convinced himself that they're only hanging out with him because they're secretly making fun of him, and it can't. It's too good to be true. But then there's a scene. I love this scene actually. So he's coming to school, and she is waiting outside the school. Let me get the girl's name again. Anna? Yeah. Anna's waiting outside the school, and he just assumes she's waiting for someone else. But it's actually she's giving him the manga that she said she would let him borrow, this shoujo manga. And she just starts spoiling the plot massively in describing it to him. Oh yeah, the main character's sister dies. And he's like, didn't you just tell me a massive spoiler?
And she's like, no, it doesn't even happen until the end of volume 3.
Yeah, it's just, it's not that big a deal. He's like, you need to stop.
And she's like, no, you should really read it though. Check it out.
But then he's confused why she decided to do this here when she's seemingly in the middle of waiting for someone else. And he's like, aren't you waiting for somebody? And she's like, yeah. And she just kind of stays at the door I was waiting for you, but so there's just a lot of missed communication going on with he really, really won't believe that she likes him.
And then he's got the murder encyclopedia on the outside, but then on the inside he's reading some kind of girly book or something.
She tries to grab the book from him and ends up shoving her boobs into his face on accident,
which is pretty great.
And they're both kind of awkward about it, and she's starting to leave, and he's like, well, will you be back here tomorrow? And she's like, absolutely. Yes.
Because there's now a sign that says no snacks, right?
I think we're about to get to that.
Okay.
Right.
So, horny guy
also is into Anna, right? And he gives this. I actually kind of like this scene because this is a conversation that I know that young guys have. A lot of them are. A lot of the dumb perverted conversations in this show are fairly realistic.
They're pretty
that's
accurate.
why I think they're funny a lot of the time.
This show's pretty real.
But this guy's you can't wank off to the girls that you really like, and that's how I know I like that girl. And so this immediately puts Kyotaro all up in his feelings because he's like, well, wait, I jack off to Anna. Does this mean I don't like her? That can't be the case, right?
No.
But then the pervert guy keeps going on about what he likes about Anna.
She's got great thighs.
She's got amazing tits. I mean, the face and that body, though. And it's Kyotaro just feels disgusted. He's like, wow, maybe...
Do I feel this? I feel this way about her. Maybe I'm a problem, too.
Yeah, so, but this this leads into they find out there's a sign in the library that says no snacks. They literally go to a teacher to ask about it.
I think it's the library staff.
Is a very sus move, if you ask me.
Yeah, right?
Like, way to paint a target on yourselves to care this much about, like, why you're not allowed to eat snacks in the library. And she literally says, like, sometimes people, don't realize the obvious until we write it out for them, which...
It's because Anna says something like, I didn't think we needed a sign for something so obvious.
Yeah, I like this line just because I think this show, it's very deep. Like, we talked in the previous episode about how it's got a lot of, like, fetish content. It's got a lot of obsessive details in it and stuff that... maybe a lot of people who are watching this show will see a mirror held up to themselves and like the show is spelling things out sort of for you in an obvious way. That's what this line just kind of made me think of, what the show's purpose might be in and of itself. Of course, she's like, I knew we couldn't eat here, so the sign
I'm just gonna keep eating
doesn't
here.
matter, which is deeply based.
She brings out chocolate almonds, which is a very good snack. I'm a big fan.
Yes, but he... So he sees her eating these chocolate almonds, and then the teacher's, like, coming around from behind the bookshelves, and he's like, oh, shit. So he reaches over and grabs her hand and closes it. The teacher, of course, sees this and just thinks, like, this is a weird thing that's happening in the library, and leaves. But it ends up melting the chocolate in her hand, and...
She is upset at this because he ruined a perfectly good snack.
Well, I don't know if she's even upset. It's an awkward moment because she says, go away. And he starts walking away, and then she starts licking it off her hand. So it seems like she was just ashamed that she was about to do this, and that's why she sent him away. It's an awkward moment, and the next day he comes in and she's just eating snacks in there again, and nothing's different, and he's like, you know what? I'm overthinking her. Like, she's just like this. There's actually a post-credit scene that I think we had missed initially, where she's like, so how did they find out, supposedly there was trash in the...
It was like a lozenge.
Yeah, she said it was just a single lozenge, but they're talking, and they're like, wasn't it you who threw away the trash? Because, you threw away that bag that time. And he's like, no, I didn't throw away that bag.
That's my cum bag.
She's like, why'd you keep it, huh? And the episode ends. So then we get to episode 7.
And he's Googling her.
This is a better one. I would give this one a 7 out of 10. More stuff happens. It's more enjoyable.
It's very cute. I enjoy it.
This show is definitely always sort of in that 6 to 7 range for me. I think it will finish a strong 7. I
hope it gets to an 8. I like this show a lot.
But yeah, so this episode 7 starts off. So we've heard that Anna is a model. It's kind of like a background thing that's been brought up a couple times. But this episode,
she's also been referred to as an idol as well.
Yes.
But now she has an acting gig.
Kyotaro finally investigates the fact that he looked at like a magazine once. Now he's like Googling her and trying to figure out like, what does she do?
I think in the last episode he had like a whole internal monologue about, when they were on the train, these people might recognize her. How famous even is she?
Right, yes. So then we cut to school. There's a whole track and field day. I really enjoyed this whole scene because... Cool. So, growing up, in addition, another thing I connect to Kyotaro on, I was a very small kid. Mm-hmm. I was like the smallest kid in every class I had growing up, and I sucked at all physical activities. So on things like, a day like this, I would be like literally the last finisher. Like, and there's usually like a couple of girls who don't participate at all, who just like walk and have a conversation the whole time.
Yeah.
I would be like barely ahead of them, like dying exasperated on the track. I was so not physically fit.
Too much Mountain Dew.
No, I was skinny, super skinny. This was before Mountain Dew. I was drinking Sprite growing up.
Too much Sprite.
Just not enough anything. I didn't really consume a lot of food when I was a little kid. So I was just a scrawny little tiny kid, not unlike Kyotaro. And so as he's running, he basically just doesn't want to lose to Anna because that would be embarrassing. But she's kind of...
She's fast.
She's kind of trying to just run with him. Like, I think she just wanted to hang out with him because they were around the same area. And so she catches up, and he ends up realizing that her shirt is on... Oh, no, she takes
backwards.
off... Oh, shit, I fucked up my image.
Haha. VLC strikes again.
That was my fault. She takes off her top jacket, revealing that her shirt is on backwards, and there's a pretty cool animation of her like turning her shirt around while she's running, which is something that happens in real life, and I'm a big fan of. And they animated it in an interesting way.
It looked really well. There
It's
was some good cleavage.
I don't know if I've seen that done in anime before, so I was like,
I don't think so either.
That was neat. But yeah, so then I think
they like trade jackets.
I don't remember
somehow.
how he ends up with her jacket, or
and she ends up with his.
Actually, they both trade jackets at one point, but the dramatic moment in this run is that when she gets ahead of him and looks back, his hair is out of his eyes because of his running, and she says, "Your right eye, I've never seen it before," and he's like, taken aback because it's kind of like she's checking him out, she's complimenting his looks. He's like,
nice.
What? What's going on here?
Say what?
So then we cut to as they're in the class.
This girl's name is Mo, I think.
The
red-haired girl, yeah. And she says, "There's absolutely zero chance I'd date anyone in this class anyway."
Yeah, this is right after she said, "You know what I would love to do with a guy that I was dating?
Swap hoodies."
Is swap hoodies with them." And of course, at that exact moment is when Kyotaro realizes that they accidentally have each other's jackets. So he's like, if anybody sees that, they're going to think it's some kind of romantic thing based on what that girl said. So he realizes...
goes up to answer a math problem.
Yeah,
and he even, takes a different kid's spot.
Well, it's because pervert guy was going to go up, and he realized if he was up at the front of the class, he'd see the jacket and would say something about it. So he's like, "I'll answer the question." Another one of these, creating an awkward moment for himself to protect the girl, which is funny every time it happens.
He gets the question wrong, but he kind of writes on the board a little bit, and then he turns and makes eye contact with her and just keeps tapping the chalk on his t-shirt.
Yeah, trying to show her look down, and perfect guy's like, "Are you trying to tell us all you're badass by striking this pose?" Ooh, and then of course he gets the problem wrong, so he's all embarrassed. Fun scene. During lunchtime, Anna asks for extra portions.
Demands an extra portion.
I don't even think she says it. They say it to her. Extra portion, right? It's happened every time.
She gets a regular portion, and then I think she just kind of grunts at him.
Oh, okay.
And then she goes, "Oh, right, extra food."
Yeah. And luckily, because she ate so much that she's holding her stomach, nobody is noticing that she's wearing his name tag. He finally manages to drag her to the nurse's office and trade...
I think she drags him, actually.
Okay. They finally trade jackets back, and she's like, "Let's measure ourselves." I don't know why she brought it up. Maybe she just wanted to know exactly what am I working with.
How short is this guy?
How short are you, actually, before I go signing these marriage contracts? So
she puts the thing down on his head, and he just starts crouching and falls to the ground. Kinda.
Well, she's struggling with it. So then she uses her hand, and patting his head gives him an erection. So he goes to the ground.
I see.
This whole episode, he constantly is getting erections every time she interacts with him because, come on, she's really
those
hot.
thighs.
He's a 12-year-old, so I'm not surprised. 13 maybe, I don't know.
I actually don't know how old these kids are. But so she is 172 or 171.9, which is about 5'7".
So she's not much shorter than I am. I'm probably 174 or 5 centimeters based on her being 5'7".
I
I'm
wonder
5'8",
how tall
and a half,
I am
maybe.
in centimeters.
But yeah, so she's pretty tall for not just for a middle schooler, but for a Japanese girl at all. But yeah.
I am 195 centimeters.
I thought this was a pretty...
This was a cute scene.
And then
Yamada's making a movie.
oh my god, she's gonna be in a movie. What if she has to do erotic scenes or something?
What if she has to kiss someone? Oh my gosh. What if she meets the co-star and starts having an affair? I don't even think they say any of that. But it's this vibe.
He's watching like everybody in class ask her about the movie, and she kind of just doesn't seem interested, you know. And he's like, "Huh, I wonder what that's about."
Maybe she doesn't want to do the movie.
But then
they're reorganizing their seats.
Yeah, this scene, everybody's been moved in class, and it's looking like Pervert Guy and Anna are going to be in the front row. While I like how the last two shows we talked about have a guy we just call Pervert Guy.
Yeah.
Practically the same character. Even have the same haircut.
Well, actually, Mashal will have Pervert Guy too.
Kind of, yeah. I don't know if I would refer to him by just Pervert Guy, though. But anyway, so... Yeah, Pervert Guy's next to Anna. Kyotaro's behind him. He's all sad about it. But I love the way this scene develops because, again, this is a relatable thing for me as a short person.
The person that ends up sitting next to him is... What's her name? Tara?
The big girl.
Yeah.
Her name is Hara.
Hara. So Hara ends up sitting next to Ichikawa. And Ichikawa, during the lesson, realizes he can't see because this girl's so tall.
No, well, it's because of Anna's so tall. Anna's, like, blocking his view, and it's a really... I think this is a really brilliant and funny frustration to put in front of him, that it's like the girl he likes, and she's kind of sensitive about how tall she is. So he doesn't want to say...
Hey, you're tall. Get out of my way.
You're fucking blocking my view. But at the same time, he's like really frustrated that he can't see the lesson. This kind of thing has happened to me plenty of times.
Me too.
I have just taken the blow and been like, oh, I guess I can't see. Like, yeah. I guess this is my fate.
But I guess at some point earlier in this episode or in the show, Ichikawa had freaked out when Anna was copying notes off of a guy. And so Anna gets upset and goes, "Fine when it's you, huh?"
It happened. So the Pervert Guy he claims he doesn't have his notebook because he's trying to get her to, share hers and set them up to sit next to each other. But Kyotaro reaches into his desk and is like, "No, the book's right here." And she's like, "Oh, you guys are friendly, aren't you?" And then, like, he actually doesn't, or he can't see the board because of her, and so Hannah's like, Hara's like, "I'll share my notes with you," and so she looks back.
We should probably talk to the teacher, though.
Yeah, she's jealous of the fact that he's
sitting next to Hara, because Hara scoots her desk closer, and they're having a whole cute moment. Yeah. But Hara likes Connie from Attack on Titan.
That's true.
I wonder what happened to him.
This scene is really cute and really funny. He says, she's like accosting him about how much attention he was paying to Hara during class, and he says, during class,
all I see is you.
And she's like,
like the light changes. She's like, she just makes like an emoji face pretty much. And she's really happy.
Having this big reaction. And then
he goes, because I can't see and then he realizes what he said and covers his mouth. And then Hara comes back in and they're both looking away from each other very obviously.
Yeah. And then she's like, oh, you couldn't see the board? Like, it cuts to them in the library, yeah.
So
yeah, that was really cute. Sort of accidental romantic moment between them.
And then they're in the library and she goes, "Oh, you just couldn't see? That's lame."
Yeah.
And he goes, "Oh, so you're going to be in a movie, huh?" And she lights up and goes, "Do you like movies? Are you interested in movies?"
And then he asks her, like, "What, are you just going to be like a tree or something?" And she's like, "No." And she starts going into her role. And he's like...
Which is the daughter of the cop that is chasing the main character.
He realizes that the reason she had been so out of it before is nobody asked her about her
part. What she was doing.
They all just were saying, like, "Oh,
she's
you're
in a movie with that guy,
and you're going to have all these opportunities and shit." It's like, she is doing a pretty minor role. She has one line.
And she goes, "My big line, you're such a creep." And he, like, freaks out initially.
It's something like... It's not kimochi. It's like something kimoi. Yeah, just like, you're gross. But yeah, she says it to him, and at first he's like almost hurt by it, but then she keeps saying it, and now he's like almost getting turned on. He's really into it.
Yeah.
Kimoi.
The first time he's put off by it, and
Yeah.
she goes, "That's my big line," and then he realizes she's not saying it to him.
Right.
And then he goes, "You should practice," and then he starts to just kind of get off about it.
Yeah.
That was a little strange.
And then it cuts to these other students
There's like
see
three
them
girls
doing
looking
it,
at him.
and that was really funny. But
They're like,
then
"We should take this somewhere more private."
we should take this somewhere else. This escalates
Very
immediately.
quickly.
How did they get like this?
Why aren't they just standing in that little space right
if you
there?
can't, if you're listening to the podcast version of this and you can't see what we're talking about,
They're in a storage closet that's pretty much filled with desks, and Anna is sitting on the desk, and Ichikawa is standing between her legs, very close.
The way it's organized is a tight little closet. She's sitting on a desk, and on like her knees are practically touching the shelving unit that is on the against the wall. So there is no room for him to maneuver. I don't even know how he got between her legs.
Shelving unit? What did unit do?
So
yeah, it is strange. I don't know how he got between her legs either. Like, how
they
did this
look like
whole
they're
thing
about to fuck.
conspire? Yeah,
and
they're
this is
having
like
a real romantic
he's
scene.
looking down into her eyes, so he's got the whole like this is the best possible view of her he could be getting.
And they're talking. I don't
his
quite remember
dick
what
is
they're.
right between her legs.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know what to say. This looks like they're gonna. He's like, is this too private?
Oh right, and so she goes, "Are you going to see the movie when it comes out, or it'll be out in like 2 years because we're about to start filming?" And he goes, "That's a long time," and she goes, "That's how it goes."
Yeah, and he's like, I guess I'll make time for it. And then she's like, that's all I needed to hear. I don't really need to practice actually because I don't want to say those things to you anymore.
Which was cute.
They didn't bone, but damn, damn. I mean, she's pretty. It's pretty clear she likes him. I would say I hope that they have some kind of confession soon because it's starting to get to a point where it's like, okay, y'all are just a couple.
I hope Ichikawa becomes an actor too. I think that could be fun. But then so we cut to Ichikawa at home, and his sister kind of walks in on him watching a idol show kind of thing, and she's very confused. But it's because Anna's on it.
I would call it a panel show, I guess. But it's like
there's a comedian and then a bunch of schoolgirls
answering,
it's like
a whole
making
classroom's
jokes
worth of kids, and the idea is that like he'll bring up a topic and ask one of them like, what's your favorite, and then they'll hold up a sign that has their answer and give like a couple sentences. It's a very like typical Japanese morning variety type program, but as he's watching it, he realizes that she actually barely gets any screen time and is kind of memed on by the editor. It's odd the way that like that her role is presented is like she's almost a joke character.
They cut to the girl next to her, but not her.
Yeah, and like they'll show her like when she's not framed right, like emphasizing
she rests her
how
arm
tall
on the
she is
board
and stuff. So yeah, basically her awkwardness is constantly highlighted. Oh, I guess that's the last screen cap I had from this. But yeah, so he discovers that the show is like that, but then when he's expecting her to be like all sad and upset. It doesn't matter.
I know, it's fun though. Sorry.
They can't see that. He's expecting her to be all sad and upset about it, but actually she's like, I got a bunch of screen time, didn't I? And the other girls are like, we can tell you tried your best. And I think that's pretty much it. So yeah,
this show's cute. It's a strong 7 out of 10. I hope it gets to be an 8 or a 9.
I think there's a lot of potential here with the character growth. I like it when the character this episode, the characters were in a good mood, you know? Even though Kyotaro still has all this self-doubt, the episode before that, it really wasn't that funny. It was mostly just him being sad and her kind of being sad about him being sad and about that distance between them, which maybe is an important thing to show for their relationship and flesh out, but it wasn't fun to experience. This episode, we feel like we're on the other side of that. We're getting closer, and there's only room for them to like have more fun. I just hope we don't ever pull back as far as we did in episode 6.
I want to see him on the tandem bike.
Yeah, I want to see them pushing closer. All right. We don't have any new super chats. If you want a super chat, we'll answer all your questions. We'll talk about whatever you want in between the shows. So after this next one, if there are any. This next show
the
is
best show
Mashal.
This season. I'm so happy. Here we go. We're introduced to the dorms this time.
Once again, we are actually watching 2 episodes of this show because just somehow had not realized that episode 5 was out when we did last week's episode, even though it comes out on like Thursday or Friday. It was yesterday, right? No, Saturday. Okay. No, today's Saturday. It was Friday. It came out on Friday. I didn't realize it, so we're catching up on 5 and 6. Episode 5 is okay. I would give it like a strong 6, light 7, but it's really
setup.
Yeah, it's all set up. It's just introducing new characters who are going to be important in the amazing 6th episode that really ratcheted up my feelings on this show considerably, but we'll get into why that is as we get there. Episode 5 starts off by introducing our dorm system, very similar to Harry Potter's house
Lang,
system.
Adler, and I don't remember the other one.
I'm impressed you remembered the first 2. They're the only ones that have really been relevant so far. So there are 3 houses. We know that they have like a competitive spirit. They all think they're hot shit, and Mash is in Adler along with his friend. So they tell him that in order to create to have a gold coin,
Orca is the other one.
In order to make a gold coin, which he's seeking now, he needs, I believe it was just
5 silvers.
5 silvers. Well, he says here 5 minus 2. Maybe he's just being wrong. He goes through like all this like science and math figures and charts behind his head, trying to figure out
He's not good at math.
how to make 5, and he comes up with 22. Yeah,
He does.
He intellectually.
What's 10 minus or 9
not
minus
all
10?
there. But when the blue-haired guy is making fun of him and he's like, "You're such a dumb idiot,
Lolicon.
Mash just literally opens up the pendant of the sister and shows it to him, and the light is so blinding that it sends him flying back into the wall.
It's so silly.
It's just a way of dealing with that guy. Anything he has to say to you, just show him that. I think he said to Mash, like, "You're gonna bring down the status of our house," and Mash is like, "Yeah, coming from you, the fucking siscon pedophile, no thanks." So
and
then,
hey, look, more Harry Potter. We've got the mandrakes
it's
now.
Mandragoras. How are they handled in Harry Potter? I do not remember.
I think they're just
scream?
repotting them. Yeah, they scream really loudly.
Okay.
It like makes people's ears bleed.
But
they pull them out of a pot and then they put them in a new pot, I believe.
Mandragoras come up in a number of anime and video games. They're like, a classical folk creature or whatever.
I think they're using it to make potions here. I think that's what this class is.
I remember a really great scene from an anime called Flying Witch, which otherwise is not that amazing, but if you just look up the Mandragora scene from that show, it's really fun.
I much prefer the Flying Nun, though I don't think there are any Mandragoras in there.
So, Mandragora just screams a whole lot, and their mission is to use magic to put it to sleep so that they can cut it up and use it as food.
I forget what the spell is. Do you have... Oh, God.
Mashal fails at putting it to
sleep. And it just gets bigger and bigger and bigger.
And angrier, and eventually he just slaps the shit out of it, and it passes out, and he's like...
I did it.
They're like, did you really, though? Did you really? But, that's his solution to everything.
And then they start making the potions.
Can you explain how this cream puff came to be?
So, blue-haired guy...
You're a cook. You understand these things.
I can't explain it. Blue-haired guy takes the mandragora, cuts it up, and makes some kind of potion. And then he says, "Okay, Mash, your turn."
He's like, "It's really easy." And then does all these, like, Master Chef maneuvers. And Mash is like, well, anything physical, I can do that just fine. Yeah. He does all the same Master Chef maneuvers.
And then a cream puff comes out of it somehow. And he does it multiple times. They show him going through every single step, but somehow it's always a shoe cream.
Blue hair like monitors him through it, and then somehow at the end comes out as another shoe cream. So they're like, "You're a hopeless case."
Hey, it's perverted guy.
In the middle of the hallways,
this guy opens, like his opening line is, "I'm the main character."
Yeah, this guy's whole thing is he believes he should be the main character, and this is just. I have to imagine that this was inspired by the fact that, like, Mash doesn't look like a Shonen Jump main character.
Mushroom head.
He's a very normal-looking dude, aside from the fact that he's, like, all ripped underneath. But, like, this guy is, like, Naruto du jour, like a Beat the Vandal Buster. I know there's plenty of characters who look so much like him, and he's like, obviously, I'm the main character.
He looks like the guy from Sword Art Online, Klein.
Oh yeah, he does look like Klein.
Klein.
But he's got a real bad case of main character syndrome because he's not the main character, literally, of the show, which
it's
is what
unfortunate
makes
for
this
him.
such
Maybe
a funny
he'll
bit.
get his own show.
Never. But yeah, he thinks he's the main character, and side characters have no right to say anything to him. He's just kind of being a dick to people in the hallway when he's introduced.
So now we see the Council of Lang. It's explained that Lang is made up of the elite, like the sons and daughters of the Bureau of Magic, and so their entire purpose is pretty much to just keep the lower class people from being part of the Bureau of Magic. So this guy, he's got a bunch of dolls behind him. He's holding a doll. Pretty creepy. Cool jacket. Cool character design.
A bunch of character, or we can clearly see some hairstyles that might be relevant later.
I would bet we're going to see a lot of these characters again. But he basically says, we can't let any of the lower class people become the Divine Visionary. Take all their coins.
I like that dude's coat.
Yeah, I know. It's
I'd
great.
wear that.
I want one.
So they're going out into the woods and for a class
Mash is
assignment.
like, we get to go camping. Woohoo.
Yeah, Mash assumes it's going to be camping, and Blue Hair's like, that would be for leisure. This is magic school. We're out here to do magic stuff. Obviously. There's a really cute shot of them camping. We're big campers. If you haven't seen our show, Picnic Adventure, it's linked all over the channel.
Big fan of picnicking.
We have lots of videos of us camping and cooking and stuff, so... I had to get a screen cap of that.
So they're outside the forest. They're about to start, and the blonde-haired girl, whose name I can't remember, is paying attention to Mash. And perverted guy goes, I friggin' hate guys who get attention from women. Why can't I get attention from women?
He is a really pissed off incel.
He's down bad.
He's very down bad, and we're gonna see exactly why he's an incel
in a bit.
In a short while. But there's also this silver-haired man who's a real creepy deepy dude.
Creepy guy. His name is Silva.
Which
is funny because he has Silva hair.
Yeah, he's got a problem with Mash because he thinks Mash thinks that he is hot shit, which is true. Mash does think he's hot shit.
Does Mash think he's hot shit?
He told the headmaster that he would beat his ass. So
well, that doesn't mean he thinks he's
hot shit. And that
he's
going to be he's going to crush society with his fists.
That's great.
I'd say he thinks he's hot shit.
But so they enter the forest. The goal is to kill scorpions. The scorpions have different pieces of metal in their head that are worth different amounts of coins. And so they're all sent off. Mash and perverted guy separate from...
Mash and Blue Hair are like, we got to stick together. And then they walk into the woods and immediately Mash goes, I stopped paying attention and got lost. And now I'm by myself. So he's been separated.
Which is great. But he's still with perverted guy.
Yeah, he runs into perverted guy, and then I don't remember what he says that pisses Mash off, but Mash just slaps him in the face and then complains about having wasted calories slapping him in the face. I thought that was pretty funny.
Gotta carry more shoe
Mash is
cream.
a real hard ass, and that's what I love about him, and it's really going to come to fruition in the next episode. So there's
some girl with bluish hair shows up and says, there's this guy who's forcing me to do things. Can you guys take care of him? And red-haired guy goes, of course! And it's revealed that the girl has some kind of love magic.
Well, that's not even this scene, actually. This is just some other random dude who raises his hand against a girl, and he, explosions on the guy, and he's like, anybody who touches a woman like that is a piece of shit. And then she comes up to him like, oh, you saved me. This isn't that scene, actually. This is farther, but... The girl comes up to him like, oh, you saved me, you're so nice. And then he's just has a total fucking meltdown. He's sweating and stammering.
And then she goes, wow, what a creep. And then he goes, what?
And this is how we learn why he's such an incel, is that every time a woman tries to talk to him, he completely freaks out. So then the woman you're talking about, the bluish, silverish hair woman, comes up and she's trying to plead with him to help. And she sits close, and this is literally her knee touches his knee, and he's having...
Is this the natural distance of a modern couple?
He can't believe that she is so close. He is incapable of communicating, but it doesn't matter because she's trying to manipulate him.
She's succeeding.
But she cannot succeed with Mash. So she manages to get that guy to agree to help her, but Mash is not interested, not falling for the love magic.
He's a Sigma male.
This is possible.
So Silva, the creepy guy, shows back up.
Yeah, so that's when...
Because the blue-haired girl wants to take him out, supposedly. But it's a trap.
Side character is like... I'm gonna fight to defend that girl. Fuck you, Silva. And Silva's like, whenever I see a deluded loser like you, I can't help but to give them a dose of reality. So he's being a real like creepy
And then
asshole.
so he has like metal magic, so he just starts hitting.
He pounds him in the fucking guts with this massive pillar of rock that just shoots out of the ground, or metal, I guess. And that's pretty much the end of episode 5, which again I would give it like a strong 6
or 7.
It was a good setup, but nothing that happened was like super memorable or funny in the way that this episode is going to pay off everything that was set up.
This was one of the best episodes of this whole season, I think.
Mashal episode 6, I gave a 9 out of 10. It is my favorite episode we're going to talk about in this podcast. So we start off, we were reminded that Mash and the gang were supposed to be defeating forest scorpions.
This is blue-haired guy narrating, I think.
Where we've ended up is now...
Silver guy, Silva, has decided that because, he's so much more powerful than red-haired guy, we're going to do a little contest, You each take 5 hits, and then if you survive it, excuse me, then you can do 5 hits on me. And so red-haired guy says, I'll take all 10 hits.
Yeah, he's like, Mash isn't involved in this anyways. I'm going to take all those hits. And so the guy
the first
just starts,
hit, he like coughs up blood.
Yeah, the guy just starts sadistically and severely beating the fuck out of him, going all the way to 10, and then
11 or 12,
throwing in a couple extras just because you're a stupid bastard and I'm having fun with it. And after he's been hit all those times...
He's still standing, and he goes, I'm going to give you those 5 hits, and then he falls over.
Yeah, and Silva's like, of course you can't stand. You were hit directly by my magic.
And then Mash throws a cream puff in his mouth.
He won't stop ranting about how he has... Like, he got 2 gold coins in his first year.
He's so cool. He's very superior.
Yeah, very impressive. Obviously, Mash is going to get way more than 2 gold coins in his first year.
He's the divine visionary.
But... Yeah, so Mash just throws... Well, the guy's, like, still trying to beat up Red Hair. And Mash throws a cream puff in his mouth and says, come at me, scumbag. So, he's a little shook. But then we cut away.
Back to Blue Guy, and it kind of explains another magic thing. There's white mages and red mages. There might be another one, I can't remember.
Yeah.
But Mash has mostly faced white mages, which are kind of like illusion magic, I think.
Support
but now,
magic.
Sort of, yeah. Now there are red mages, and any red mage past his first year is really something to deal with. You have to be concerned about them.
And most of them have 2 lines on their face, which is true of Silva as well. So, he's a much tougher opponent than we've had so far.
So he starts to punch red guy, and then Mash starts to punch Silva. Silva reacts really quickly and cuts Mash a little bit. It's
an interesting exchange because you think that he would just go right for Mash, or that like they would start fighting, but instead he like is just kind of, you guys are idiots, and it goes to attack Red Hair again, just to intimidate, just to be an asshole. Mash comes running in and almost gets the drop on him, but the guy's got quick enough reactions. Now we know that Mash is a record-setting jumper.
He's pretty spooky.
He is about as fast as you can be. So the fact that this guy was able to react and sort of block the punch is impressive. But
he gets a couple hits in on Mash, and then Mash starts destroying the metal.
Yeah, Mash basically, I guess, lets himself take a few hits so he can understand what the power's gonna do.
And then he like clenches his fist, all his veins pop out, and he goes, a magic fist, ballista knuckle, or something like that.
Yes. This scene is amazing.
It's the best.
As far as shonen action comedy goes, like, it's so fucking satisfying. Because this Silva dude, we've now spent almost like an episode's worth of time of him just being a fucking asshole.
We really don't like him. He's really a jerk.
He's just a sadistic maniac. He's been beating people up just because he likes doing it. He doesn't like Mash. He's obviously a menace to society that needs to be stopped. So, the scene with Red Hair that transpired before this, where he was just getting his ass beat, it's presented as like a very like defining shonen character moment of like, look, this guy is so resilient because of what he believes in. Like, he's the type of guy who, regardless of whether he's strong enough to actually be effective, he can take so many hits that should be killing him because of how much he believes in himself. So that's...
And cream puffs.
That's cool and all. Well, not Mashal. We're talking about the other dude.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Red Hair. it's a good establishing moment for that character as like this is what his thing's gonna be as like a guy who's in a shonen.
He specifically took all the hits because of the girl. It points like he really wants to date someone.
Whatever he's trying to do, he's willing to go the distance. But
he doesn't really have the legs.
Ultimately, what that scene amounts to is just a guy getting his ass beat
kicked
by a guy who you hate slightly more than him. Mash, he watched this happen, and he's just kind of like, okay, like, you're obviously a huge dickbag, and you need to be stopped. So, it's one of the most satisfying beatdowns I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Because it starts with the guy is like throwing all these rocks at him, and Mash is doing all the cool
Mash
epic
kind of
dodges.
gets hit a couple times, and then he starts dodging them.
Yeah,
and then he does the ballista knuckle, and he starts breaking through
them
all
and
the
stuff, and then he finally gets close. And
this is the best.
Whatever animator did this punch, it's a 3-angle, 3 different camera angles, 3 different punch like animations.
Punches him in the face.
Awesome.
His face implodes. It's perfect. Incredible.
This shot alone is
and then
like
it
the
shoots
best
him
frame.
across the forest.
He goes flying. And then of course Mash just like runs
in another
for
one, and there's a shockwave on his stomach.
You see
incredible.
This dude,
his stomach is like bulging out the back.
Yeah,
he's bleeding.
He looks like he's got a humpback now, like the Hunchback of Notre Dame. Like his back is blown out, and then it like flattens, and you see a ripple, and like it's just this incredible pulse animation of him getting fucking socked.
And then after this, there's this
awesome
cool scene
back and forth, like
with all the metal like being destroyed, and you see Silva reacting to Mash in fear, and Mash just always not reacting at all.
The camera is on Mash and just looking cool, but like the shards of metal around him are reflecting the face of the guy just utterly getting his fucking shit rocked. But they're all from different angles.
Yeah.
So it looks cool as shit.
They do one with Mash too.
As well.
Yeah, this is great. I love it. Man, he looks so fucked up. And this is him realizing, man, I'm so fucked up.
Yeah, well, he literally says, after those 2 hits, I can't tolerate one more hit. He's thinking this. Like, he's blown away. He's like, but I got 2 gold coins in my first year.
He says that like 4 separate times while he's coping.
Really stuck on it.
And so Mash goes and sits down on a tree and says, "You're gonna endure 10 hits, right?
My favorite bit. Mash,
you're so much better than we are, so you're gonna endure 10 hits."
The slow walk over to the tree and sitting down, and the guy's just like, "What's he doing? Why is he sitting down?" And he just says to him like, "You're so great. You're gonna endure 10, right? Like that's what we signed up for."
And then a scorpion shows up. It's a big scorpion. He's got a big gold star on his head. And Mash literally like Super Smash Bros him into the sky.
Yeah, the scorpion shows up, and for a second, Silva's like...
He says, "Sorry, I'm busy right now."
Yeah, maybe that thing will help me, and I'll have time to escape. Mash just throws it 1 billion miles away. And then says to him, "Let's just stop. I kind of feel sorry for you." And the guy
is so crestfallen that it's adorable.
The face he's making is just like...
Oh shit! This guy feels bad for me.
I feel like he has no identity left anymore. Like his entire.
We're probably gonna like this guy after this, and I don't know that I.
No, I don't think so.
Oh wait, no, right.
He's gonna
I
be
remember.
around anymore.
I forgot. He doesn't want to be around anymore.
So if that wasn't good enough, if him defeating that hateable man wasn't...
Now silver blue-haired girl is concerned, and she's like,
"Oh fuck, what if he does that to me too?" So she just starts crying like, he made me do it. Mash comes up.
Thank you for ending him. And she Mash hugs her, and then right as he did that, you went suplex.
Yes, I called it.
Oh my god, I didn't even notice the eyes.
Yes, he says, "Don't worry," and then suplexes her and says, "I treat everybody equally." I was like, this is the greatest. Mash is now instantly one of my favorite shonen protagonists. This really took me back to Gintama. In one of the early episodes of that show, he defeats a guy through cheating, basically, and this is a similar sort of defining character moment of someone doing something really badass in a way that really speaks to who they are. Mash is the ultimate hard ass. He's not letting anything slide. He is very vindictive. The fact that he like literally just made fun of the guy and like crushed his pride and just ground him into the dirt while also beating his ass, and then suplexed the bitch too because she deserved it.
And then, so they meet back up with everyone. Blue Hair's... Oh, wait. Mash finds out he now has a gold coin because he combines the big star, which it turns into 2 silver coins, with his 3. And now he has 1 gold coin. Wow. That other guy got 2 in his first year, and Mash already has 1.
Yep.
So they're all hanging out. They're like, "Are you okay? You look pretty beat up, Mash." And red-haired guy's like, "Man, he gets all the attention." And then blonde girl comes up and says, "Hey, are you all right?" And he freaks out again. He has a nosebleed, and he's just, having a panic attack.
She was trying to be cute towards him, and then he immediately freaks out, and she's like, "What's wrong with this man? He will never catch a break."
Langdorm.
So we learn about how Langdorm is made up of the upper crust and their cronies from Blue Hair. And then the gold coin...
Is so bright.
There's a scene where Red Hair's making fun of Mashal's, the way his face looks from the brightness of the coin.
And so he turns it towards him.
Like, just gets up in his face and blinds him with it. Again, I love his immediate vindictiveness about everything. Nothing slides.
So, hey, Harry Potter.
Totally new scene now where... So this is like a flashback because we're explaining how Mash's... house was chosen.
Yeah, they have a conversation, and blue hair guy is like, we're all split into separate dorms and everything. And Mash goes, "We are?" And he goes, yeah, there was a ceremony. Don't you remember that? And then he thinks, and then he...
Remember the sorting hat from Harry Potter?
What about a unicorn skeleton? Have you considered that?
Skeleton unicorn that you touch its horn and it reads your mind and tells you what house you go to. It's literally the sorting hat scene, except... that he breaks it, which I love.
Because when it reads Mash's mind, it's only Mash in a sea of cream puffs in absolute bliss.
He only thinks of shoe cream. And the
and
unicorn's just like, surely
confused.
There must be something else to you. And it's just...
And then he tries again, and it's Mash again in a sea of cream puffs, and he just goes, bliss.
There's also a part where he's like translating his train of thought, and it's just like explaining like a Wikipedia article on shoe cream. And
the unicorn is saying this out loud, so everyone's hearing him explain this. It's really funny.
He just kind of comes to the conclusion: shoe cream lovers go to Adler. And they're
he yells it. It's awesome. So now Silva failed. We're back at the creepy guy with the cool jacket, and Silva's like, "Give me another chance, come on." And creepy guy goes, "Give you another chance." I don't know what he said.
You're a fucking failure. Fuck you. Yeah. And then he turns him into a doll. So yeah, the what are they called again? This team? Lang are like doing weird, creepy, satanic rituals where they turn people into puppet dolls. And his goal is to clear out all the riffraff. I'm gonna be the divine visionary, not Adler.
Some riffraff from Adler.
And he's carrying a little like baby doll that he refers to as his mom.
That was pretty strange.
And then.
So Mash, they do a little thing before this where Mash and his friends are like, "Hey Mash, you really need to stick around with someone. Make sure the Lang people can't catch you because they're going to be coming after you." And Mash goes, "Okay," and then immediately gets lost. And he goes, "Where's my next class?" And he just finds a door and then
breaks the door, and it turns out it's the Satan Lang room.
Yeah.
And
sorry, I didn't know if it was a push or a pull.
He walks in and immediately goes, "Also, you're talking to a doll, right?" And the guy's like,
"Thank you for informing me."
Yeah,
and then the episode ends. It was so good. I love this.
This was one of the best episodes of anime this season. It was really fun, really satisfying, good, just solid shonen jump, fucking classic.
I can't wait to see Mash deal with more silly magic people. 9 out of 10.
Emmett says, "Is this more of a parody or a ripoff of Harry Potter?" Definitely a parody. Definitely more of a parody.
If you can't stand Harry Potter, I think you'll love it.
I personally, not a fan of Harry Potter, love this show because it literally is taking the piss out. The whole concept of the show is that magic sucks compared to Mashal. He is so much stronger than anybody else that, all of the conventions of the genre are just broken by his existence.
He's built different.
It's a lot of fun. All right. That's all for that show. We don't have any new super chats. Reminded everybody that we read them between shows, and we'll talk about whatever you want.
Oh,
but the
Dead
next
Mount
one
Death
is fucking
Play.
Dead
This one's a
Mount Death
surprise
Play.
because this episode was actually pretty good.
No.
Oh, baby.
I gave this a 3 out of 10. This is the worst episode we watched this week.
Really?
What good
Does
happened
stuff
in
happen
this?
here? I feel like
What
there's some
happened?
fun
Wait,
action.
you tell me what happens in this episode. I feel like there's some fun action is an answer. That there's some of that.
They're in the bar. I can't remember his name.
Lemmings.
Right, thank you. What a weird name for
So
that guy.
this episode, Dead Mount Death Play episode 5, starts off with every character in the show so far is in
It's just in the
this underground
Clarissa's
bar. When Lemmings shows up, the lights shut off. He's standing on a table. He's a guy dressed like a mummy. All eyes are on him. Everybody's like, this guy is fucking dangerous. He's got a bounty on his head.
I think
the
he like
cops want
psychically
him 'cause
messes with some cops or something.
everybody wants this guy dead. They're like, we got to do something immediately.
He's a troublemaker. That's what they call him.
Yes, one of the cops runs in, the black-haired guy, right away with a broken beer bottle and tries to stab him, and it doesn't do shit.
Yeah. And then I think the zombie girl jumps in and tries to do something. Corpse God is like seeing all the souls of the people he's killed.
Yeah, everybody's like, there's like 2 minutes of just hyping up Lemmings of people being like, this guy is such a badass.
Which,
and even
in the show so far, there has already been like 5 to 7 minutes of hyping up Lemmings.
Yeah. So Corpse God is like seeing the souls around him, and he's like, they seem to be feeling a mixture of hatred and fear. Yeah, so basically Lemmings runs right in and kidnaps Zombie Girl. He's trying to steal her off somewhere, and
is this some kind of new pickup routine?
Corpse God really doesn't want this, but he's worried that if these people see him use his magic,
He won't have peace.
peace will slip through my fingers.
Which is his goal.
as
He
it was
only wants
phrased.
peace.
Yeah. So he thinks that like people will constantly be after him if they know what he can do. But he ends up doing magic anyways.
What is it that he does? I don't quite remember what magic he uses. Is it just Skelly Man arms?
He uses a lot of Skelly Man arms and some other shit in a little bit. But he's having like flashbacks as well to somebody,
to his teacher, the person
Yeah.
that taught him to be a necromancer, and she's I think a woman. And then he goes, "Teacher, I'm a fool."
Yeah, so he starts trying to fight Lemmings, and he's shooting all these arms at Lemmings. There's a pretty cool animation. I got a really weird frame of it.
He's like Spider-Man-ing.
But yeah, Lemmings like does all these crazy dodges and runs down all the skeleton arms, and
Look, okay,
kind
this
of looks like
episode's
the
not
badass
great.
in the
It's
scene.
just fun because stuff happens.
This scene is fun. This moment where Lemmings runs down all the skeleton arms is well animated and fun to watch, but this quickly becomes a clusterfuck. So basically,
she tries to bite him, right?
Lemmings runs down all the skeleton arms, bypasses Corpse God, goes up to the girl, and just sort of
they, like, whisper
whispers something to her, and she's like, "No, I can't tell you that because I'll be yelled at."
But I can tell you something.
Yes, end of discussion. But I'll tell you this, and then she whispers something to Lemmings, so we don't know. What was all that about? No idea.
Who knows?
Then she says, "I'll also tell you this," and like tries to bite him, but he's like, "Oh, but I'm wearing the wrappings." But then she stabs him with a fork,
stabbing him with a fork,
which of course a fork won't carry enough saliva to fully immobilize him.
We're setting up rules and boundaries.
Sure,
world
why
building.
not? All right, why this gimmick then? Why did you immobilize him at all? Why was it necessary? I guess
they want to capture Lemmings.
I know, but they didn't fully.
What? Big Skelly Man is coming up.
Yeah, so he summons a gigantic skeleton.
And then what happens? Oh, it just cuts, right?
Cut
Nothing happens.
away.
Yeah, that was pretty lame. I didn't like that.
This was so infuriating.
Yeah, this was really lame. And they're just all chilling out like everything's fine. And they're like, well, next time we're going to bring our guns and everything.
What the fuck happened?
Uh-oh.
You know, in Neon Genesis Evangelion episode 2, right before Shinji goes into fight, he's like dying. He's like, oh fuck, and then he just suddenly wakes up in a hospital bed.
What
You spend the rest of the episode like seeing the results of the battle, and then at the end you see the actual battle, and it's exciting because it's the end of the episode, so they didn't start you off at the action then do a bunch of boring shit. But also
they did a bunch of boring shit, and then
yes, and then the action isn't what you expect it to be because you knew that he won, but the way that he won is totally different from what you might have thought was, could have been possible. This isn't doing that.
No.
We never cut back to what happened
next
in
episode.
this episode. We never even address What the fuck happened?
You've been Dead Mount Death Played.
I have a theory about what happened based on what fucking little I could grasp.
He crushed him
unbelievably
into a
confusing
ball
shit.
like he did with those other guys, maybe?
It cuts to black, then it cuts to these guys talking about how the cops are like, we might as well not have been here for all the good we did, yeah.
Oh, right, Lemmings is fine.
We just cut to
this
another
is Polka's
scene.
brother.
Oh, yeah, you're right. So, yeah,
Yeah.
Polka's brother is in, like, we don't know that it's him yet, though. He's in an office room.
We do.
I think we learned that at the end of the episode.
Ah.
But it's a guy in an office room talking to Lemmings, and he's like, you were gone a long time. I expect quicker work from you. And you're just like, well, how the fuck did Lemmings get... Did he win? Did he escape? What happened? Well, Hacker Guy is explaining to them that Lemmings, because he can pop up
so
anywhere,
he can teleport,
is named after a horde of rodents. Lemmings. I think there's just a bunch of lemmings. I think they actually did either capture or kill that lemmings.
And there's just a lot of them.
Because she says, we made a real killing. And then Corpse God talks about how he got all of those souls from lemmings.
We've got Blahaj back also.
So did they kill that lemmings? Did they turn him in? Was he about? Did they collect a reward?
Maybe they got him in a rat trap.
What did they do?
What happened? Where'd he go?
What the fuck happened? Is this a different lemmings we just saw in that other scene?
Maybe Lemmings
None of this is explained!
ghost.
It's so infuriating!
But Blahaj is back. Polka and the shark bug.
Yes,
stuff.
Polka's been put into the shark body.
And it's
we covered that
adorable.
in the last episode.
And so we cut back to the corpse god talking to his teacher, who has a really big hat and I think hair.
Apropos of nothing and out of nowhere.
Which most of these flashbacks are.
Remembering this weirdly animated flashback of him. Like, did this take place in a white void where he was just at a table with his teacher in a white void, or was there a more literal version of this event? I don't know.
It's like when Harry Potter dies, when he goes to visit Dumbledore and he's just kind of in the white train station.
Basically the teacher just told him, if you see someone that you want to help, you should do it. So that's how he's become. I've decided to start a business, he says. I've decided to start a business. I need to make money. We need to justify our existence. This is where the show's going now.
Let's get down to business.
New plot.
To defeat the Huns.
He found a sane ghost in the basement and made a
pact it into a pen
to let it possess a pen so that it could help them come up with ideas. Also, this pen, kind of a Spider-Man logo on it.
Yeah, it's a spooky pen.
I think this show is deliberately supposed to be Spider-Man.
Do you think he just manifested this pen? Or do you think he bought it somewhere?
I think he bought it. Okay. I think it's literally a Spider-Man pen that he bought.
But the pen is like... What's special? The pen's soul is... It's special in some way. I forget what it is.
I don't remember. They... brainstorm what kind of business they can use with magic that won't give away the fact that they are literally using real magic. Yeah. So they decide to do a psychic fortune-telling thing. They design the room to look like that. They do some, generic fortune-telling stuff. And then he gets paid. He's giving it to everybody, and he's giving some of it to Blahaj. But
Blahaj doesn't want it.
Yeah, Blahaj is like, I don't need any money. And we find out that is because he is one of the children of this incredibly rich family that owns everything. Now, it seems like Techno Guy and girl who murdered him originally knew this.
Yeah.
And just never fucking said anything about who he is.
They allude to it a little bit. They don't really mention anything important.
Polka
Shinomiya, I think.
Polka's like twin younger siblings, a boy and a girl, show up.
No, they are. He is their uncle.
Oh right, he's their uncle. His niece and nephew, they're twins. They show up and they're like, Polka, what are you doing here, you dumb idiot? You should come back home or something. And they're like, fuck you, we're doing a business.
And he hugs him. I don't remember why.
So we will learn why. He comes up and gives them a hug. They are like taken aback, so like this isn't really what Polka's like. But apparently there is a ghost standing behind them that Corpse God can see, telling him to help these children.
Probably their mom.
The way this scene played out, like, this is a dramatic reveal that if we had known he was seeing this beforehand would have made the rest of the scene more interesting. I just hate the way this show does
Yeah, it
information.
wasn't great. It was confusing. The art for the ghost was cool though.
Yeah, so there basically it seems like the main reason they don't think he should try to investigate their family more is that it could be that one of them was the one who put the hit out on him, which seems likely to me. Especially this older brother who, comes to pick up the twins and is like, there could always be another accident, just like what happened to Suzuka. And then
Who's probably the
it
ghost.
sort of implies that that's the ghost. So I think that might be... Oh, yeah, there's a post-credit scene where it shows the dad... looking at a photo of assumably the wife and going like, Polka, seems to have gotten these behaviors from you, and I suppose I can't die just yet. And he's looking at a ridiculously big moon.
Yeah, you must have a satellite or something.
This shit was so fucking incoherent.
Yeah.
We went so let me summarize what happened here, right? Lemmings showed up, they fought, she told him something, and then either they killed him or he escaped. It's really fucking unclear, and either way we have no idea how it happened. Either the same lemmings or another one is reporting to a guy. There's a scene, I didn't even talk about this, where she Corpse God thanks her for giving whatever information allowed them to escape, and she's like, well, now we're even because you saved me before. But she doesn't say what the information was.
Well,
can she not tell him? It's just
maybe she'll get in trouble.
It was just so frustrating, and especially again the way the organization is, or the information is organized, rather, is really aggravating. Even just like the structure of that sentence I just said. All right, enough about that show. Let's move on. It's time for a show I really like.
Loafer.
Skip and Loafer had another solid, probably 8 out of 10 episode.
Real quick.
All right, we're gonna take a short break because I have to pee also. So it's okay. They can deal with a small moment of silence that distinguishes. This is why you shouldn't be listening to the live stream if there's an edited podcast. The reason I keep emphasizing this is that we've gotten a lot of views on the live stream after the edited podcast has already been out. I just want to make sure everybody knows about it. But anyway, I gotta go to the bathroom.
All right, Anonymous, stop watching Goodfellas. We're back.
Yes, we are back. Sorry that took so long. And to Garrick Schultz, who asked, do we know if they're watching Gundam Witch? We are not watching it yet, but on our Patreon/backed.by accounts, $5 plus backers get to vote on what anime we will be covering in our first bonus episode, and one of the options on the poll is Gundam the Witch from Mercury with at least one vote so far. So it shares the lead with the other two shows that have a vote. Anyway, we're going to talk about Skip and Loafer, which is I don't know if it's still my number one favorite anime of the season. It might be, but it's still batting hard. Solid 8 out of 10 episodes like this one.
So this episode starts off with Skip FaceTiming her friend back home, and her friend back home is in love with someone, or in like with someone at the very least. She describes a bunch of the ways she feels about this guy, and Skip goes, wow, what would it be like to have these feelings? And she's kind of daydreaming about it. I don't think she thinks of Loafer specifically.
No, she literally asks her friend, what is love? And yeah, the friend gives her a bunch of descriptions, and she's still sort of thinking about it.
And this friend is also kind of fucking with her, right? Because this is the red-haired girl, right?
No, this is her actual friend from back home.
Oh, right.
So this show does a better example of skipping back and forth through time than what we had in Dead Mount Death Play. I actually didn't even skip back to what was happening in that episode, but this one starts off with her getting the call from the friend. Then there's the opening theme. Then she's walking to school, like just sort of still aglow, thinking about it. And we cut back to the rest of the conversation she had with the friend, just to create a through line that, you know, this conversation is something that's still going through her mind the next day. And, you know, some of the explanations of what is love. She thinks way too hard about the right thing to say and wants to run away. She, you know, goes out of her way to get to this boy's classroom, even though they're not in the same class. Just, you know, all these little things that Skip's like, yeah, I'm gonna totally experience all this kind of stuff at some point. And then
I think Skip also says something like, imagine dating someone in your own class.
Yeah. So clubs are on hiatus now because it's exam season.
And Loafer's not at school.
We know
he's
Skip,
loafing.
She's really serious. She's obviously, she wants to get into Tokyo University. Studies mean the world to her. And meanwhile, yeah, Loafer's not even around. And she's so worried about this. She's like, should I call him? He might want to know what's going on in the finals right away. This is a scene that when I went back through it to grab the screen caps, I truly appreciated the subtleties of this show. How, like, a lot of the anime that we've watched, you're really distracted me with the lean on the chair. Sorry. A lot of the anime we watch,
this chair,
like Oshi no Ko or even The Dangers in My Heart to some extent, although that one's better about it. Like, while they have characters making facial expressions that tell you something about them, they usually also say out loud, like, how they're feeling or what that expression means. In Oshi no Ko, again, there's characters have to go on a whole paragraph to explain every single feeling they have. In this show, there are things that are just expressed in visuals without anyone saying a word. And through this scene, Skip, like, she's really concerned about the fact that Loafer's not at school. She's making, like, a worried face. She's going all in on it. And the other two girls, the really pretty one and the nerdy one, who are sort of becoming a couple rather quickly. Yeah. They're always hanging out now.
They're like, yeah, he was always like this.
Yeah, and, like, as they're watching her fret about it, they both kind of have expressions like, this isn't really the way.
Yeah.
Like, they both clearly don't think that Loafer is going to care or that they just don't think she should bother, but neither of them says anything. It's just on their expressions and the way that they move. There's this one shot where
the teacher got a call, so, you know, Loafer at least put a call in.
Yeah, so she's confused because the explanation that he gives her is different from the one that the teacher had gotten, and she can't process how this could be the case. But the other two girls watching over her shoulder, they both kind of look at this stoically, and then the animation just kind of pulls them out of frame. Like, you know, not literal animation, but they just kind of, like, move, slide away, which is very, like, you know, again, they get what's happening. She doesn't. No words are traded about it. It's all in the animation. I like that.
And then she starts fearing the worst.
Yeah, she remembers that Loafer in the first episode didn't care about getting to school on time, and so
what if he's a bad boy?
Yeah, what if he's not the best? And then all these girls in class have heard rumors about him, and so now that he's not around, they're asking other guys who are in his proximity all kinds of questions about if he's a playboy, if he's like done all this stuff. I love the line where the guy's like, "Don't ask me stuff you can't ask him." I'm just going to tell all of you right now, all you listeners out there, if you use middle people to get to someone you want to talk to, everyone hates that. The person who you're using hates you, and they're going to tell the person to hate you too, that you're trying to get to. I know this because, being a popular figure on the internet, there are people who will
I'm a writer.
Particularly back when I was doing the pub crawl, for some reason, people would always approach Cider to try to get to, or like to ask questions about me, and he'd be like, "Why would I know?" I could ask on the show, and I'd always call those people out, like, "Why are you asking Cider? Just ask me. I'm readily available," But people, if there's certain people they don't think they're allowed to touch, but they think they can go through the people around them because that person they don't put the same importance on. But like, to the person you're putting importance on, anyone around them is as important as they are. So when you treat the people surrounding that person that way, it's going to make that person respect you less. Don't do it.
Just talk to people.
Yeah, just talk to the people you're trying to talk to. Anyway, there's another one of Skip's little dissociation fantasies where she's imagining him showing up to school on like a bicycle in a gang, like a purple gang outfit with text all over it, wearing sunglasses, giving a note that he's not going to show up to class. But he does show up to class about midway through the second day of his would-be absence, and basically it's just like, yeah, I have pressure headaches from the weather. I relate.
They have to stay after school because they are the class reps to staple some exam stuff. And it's really awkward because Skip is just kind of judging him the whole time and worried about what she's going to say. And then I think Loafer just kind of goes, "Hey, about yesterday, I get pressure headaches."
Yeah, I like the timing on this because as somebody who gets pressure headaches, they come before the rainstorm. And so it's always really infuriating because oftentimes I don't know why I'm having a headache all of a sudden until 3 hours later when the rain finally comes. And this whole scene, it was pointed out on Twitter by, I think it's at Cow, who does like all the Sakuga breakdowns and stuff, and is always talking about new shows, and this episode's color design being just a totally different palette from the rest of the show because it's doing this whole rainy, depressive, we're at a sad point in the relationship. We were kind of worried we wouldn't like watching them go through the moody stuff, but
I was worried it was going to be more of a fight.
I really liked the way this conflict plays out because it's something I've experienced similarities to. Yeah, like you said, they're stapling copies together. They're kind of being awkward and quiet, and he's kind of like, it's not that big of a deal. I just don't want to skip a grade, or be failed a grade.
Yeah,
rather. I don't want to be held back. That's all I'm worried about.
And she freaks out immediately.
She's like, you need to take care of yourself. You need to take the exams more seriously. And I remember a moment back when I was in 11th grade, I really wanted to drop out of school. Like, I just didn't want to be there anymore. And I kept telling people this. And this one girl in my Japanese class who wanted to be a doctor, like, freaked the fuck out at me. Like, you'll never make anything of your life if you don't have a college degree. You'll never be able to do anything. You'll be worthless. And I was just like, that's literally not true. Like, most people don't have college degrees and are fine. Like, chill the fuck out.
I don't have a college degree and I'm fine.
Yeah. So
then we cut to Loafer hanging out with one of his friends who we thought we were never going to see again, but it turns out he's back.
I do believe this is the guy who said, "Who's the girl?" Right?
Who's the girl?
Yeah. So they are apparently study buddies, and it's gotten late. They've been hanging out, and he's like, "Are you gonna go home soon?" And he's like, "I gotta talk about my feelings really quick." Because there's this girl who I do, stuff with, and, like, she cares about me, and...
But I said something that might have been rude.
Yeah.
Because when she confronted him about the not being so serious about school, she really freaked out on him, and he just shut her down. I don't remember
Yeah.
what exactly he says. But
It's funny because both of them always think that the reason the other person is upset is because of something that they said that isn't the reason the other person is upset. Like, they always have what they think is like the harsh thing that they said, but actually it's something else that the other person's reacting to. But there's a nice moment here where he says something and the friend's like, you should tell that to her. And he's like, maybe, but
talking
like,
to people about what I really think,
I just don't see the point.
it was pretty great.
His
Very
rationale
actor of him.
Is if they're fine,
You can leave
just
them
leave
alone.
and they're fine.
And
If they're not,
If they're not, you just leave.
there's nothing you can do. They're just gonna stay that way. So why bother? This is one of those things where it's like, obviously he's speaking in a ridiculous absolute, but I don't think he's totally wrong.
Oh, Loafer's a Sith and Skip's a Jedi.
Oh my lord. Sure, but yeah, this is definitely a Sith personality trait.
Dealing in absolutes.
Honesty, that's not a thing you should do. What's the point? Yeah, I thought this was a really cute moment that, reveals the depth of the cynicism that we've obviously seen, like, sort of bubbling under the surface of this character.
But he likes this girl for real.
He does.
Hawaii.
And our friend also says the fact that you'd even talk about your relationship is revolutionary for me. So he's never heard Loafer get even this real about literally anything.
Maybe he's never had a relationship before.
Not when he took seriously, that's for sure. Yeah, this is such a well done goddamn episode. They meet the next morning and she's trying to greet him properly, but because of the fact that she is stressed out and frizzed out and fucked up, she fails. Just seems creepy. They walk to class together and they only manage to talk about the weather before the conversation ends.
I see.
Really funny bit. I always kind of clock when this happens to me in real life because this is a universal thing. It comes up a lot in like learning about Japan because they have iyo tenki desu ne, like means isn't the weather nice? Like commenting on the weather is like a very standard greeting.
I see.
Kind of true in America too. Like if you just passively are outside and your neighbor's there.
Speaking of which, it was really hot today. Like I don't know that I would call it nice or anything, but I didn't go outside much. But yesterday
I didn't go
we had
outside
rain.
at all. I was collecting screen caps all day long.
Yesterday we had rain and that was pretty cool. We've got some really good
sunburned
plants.
up in Chicago 2 days ago. So.
Yeah, the weather out there was crazy too. It was really insane.
Hot.
It was like 88 degrees in Chicago.
But anyways, if your conversation...
But yeah, anyway, weather's nice, isn't it?
If your conversation doesn't make it past the weather, it implies that you don't have anything in common to talk about because...
The conversation made it past the weather. I failed.
The only thing that you know that you have in common is... Well, we're in the same place at the same time. We must be having the same reaction to the weather. And that's why... When you're like, sure is cold, isn't it? And they're like, well, I'm from Wisconsin, and up there it gets down to -20. You're like, go back to Wisconsin.
Yeah, I don't like those kinds of people.
So,
real quick, Darth Loafer and Kai Loafer Ren. Thank you, MNNM and Anon Emus.
So Skip pulls Loafer aside and straight up brings him into a hallway and is like, I'm really sorry about what I did. Can we talk about it? And they have a whole cute little makeup scene. She tries to walk away. He instinctively grabs her arm because he's so full of emotion, but he apologizes about it. And then basically just starts trauma dumping about how, people are always starting rumors about him because they see him as a playboy and they want to think things, but really he just kind of goes to his friend's house to study. It's no big deal.
Because he doesn't hang out with his parents that much.
Yeah, so he's like, I'm not really like a loose person. And basically his main concern was that he thought that she was buying into the Playboy rumors. So he tells her, don't listen to any of the rumors about me, and she promises, I will not. It's really cute. It's a good little trust building scene. Oh, I guess that's all I have from this episode. So yeah.
This was a great episode. It was cute. I was really fearing the fighting, but the fighting was done very well. It was a very good episode. I would say like 8 or 9 out of 10.
This show is a really good way of like naturally leading into and out of scenes. Like this one, after this dramatic moment, he kind of starts laughing because he's like, I can't believe I'm making up with somebody like this. It's the first time since like elementary school, and she's like, this is normal.
That was pretty cute.
Yeah, I liked this whole thing. I feel like we got a lot of development for Loafer in this episode. Their relationship made some progress. We saw how fragile it could have been if like he was pretty ready to like stop talking to her if she was going to keep having this attitude about the way he is. And she had to pretty much realize, he is not me, his different priorities, and I shouldn't be accosting him over my own values. It was a strong episode. Also, like, the light breaks in this scene, like, the sun comes in and the color changes and all. It's nice.
It's very pretty.
All right.
Pokemon.
I don't think we have any new super chats, so we're just going to move right into talking about Pokemon Horizons, the latest Pokemon anime series not featuring Ash Ketchum at all.
As far as we know.
As far as we know. He probably won't show up for a long time if he does.
But so where we left our hero Liko last time, the main explorer, the guy with half gray and half black hair, was charging at her with his Corviknight. And then her amulet activates. And it
creates like a force field, like an AT field around her.
Unfortunately, the turtle does not show up this time.
Yeah, we don't really know what the turtle was about, but Roy, who has that ancient ball, it starts having a reaction at the same time as the pendant, and they're like, what's going on? It seems like these things are related. We've got the explorers are fighting off Team Voltecker's Charizard with their Skarmories. I gotta say, like, even though I've complained about how the background art in this show is kind of bland, in this episode I felt that way especially. It's almost all set on this one beach where it's just like dark skies and everything's kind of gray. But the animation of actual Pokemon, I mean, these are relatively complicated Pokemon, and there's 3 of them on screen at the same time. There's a lot of moments like this that kind of make me go, okay, I appreciate that, like, this would have been harder to animate in like earlier forms of Pokemon, and we wouldn't have gotten this kind of fight as often,
But so Frieda tries, or that's his name, right? Freed.
Yeah, the guy with the Charizard.
Yeah. So he tries to go save the kids from whatever the lead explorer's name is, and the other 2 explorers hold him off with their Skarmories, and so the Liko and Roy have to fight Soul Blades.
Yeah, he's like, come at me, both of you at once, which, I mean, they're
Soul
both
Blades
like baby
is like kicking
Pokemon,
ass.
So I didn't have much expectations that they would do much, but they're attacking them all together. It's not really working. But then
the amulet glows. Roy holds the Pokeball, notices it was glowing earlier, and while the amulet is glowing, Liko goes, please protect us. And then Roy's Pokeball opens up, and it has a black Rayquaza.
Yes, Rayquaza is called Rayquaza in Japanese.
This is great. And he's even shiny and everything. It's so cool.
It's a crazy-ass Rayquaza comes out of the Pokeball, and everybody's like, what the fuck? And basically, it just starts raining hell.
On everyone.
Just dropping meteors from the sky. I did think this was a cool moment where it's just, like, showering the island and the Skarmories are, like, taking off.
I was so excited. Rayquaza is my favorite legendary Pokemon.
Oh, yeah. I think you've told me that before. Yeah. It was particularly a surprise just because, we're in a new Pokemon anime season, and I think that what I really loved about Journeys that has been carried over to this show is the unpredictability of what you're going to see, because they've embraced all eras of Pokemon as sort of eternally relevant. Like, there's always going to be a new 8-year-old who has never fucking seen a Rayquaza, So,
that
like...
is true.
It's never been in a ton of different contexts. So, like, regardless of if I've seen it, maybe, oh, yeah, I remember Destiny Deoxys because that came out 20 fucking years ago,
I don't remember that.
Yeah. Well, I accidentally hit the
traffic cone.
wrong button again. God damn it.
But so, the explorers flee because Rayquaza is scary. Then basically Rayquaza takes off. He just kind of says, fuck you guys, and he flies up into the sky. Roy cannot get him back into the Pokeball. Then we cut to Rockruff investigating a Shelder, and then Shelder bites Rockruff's tail.
Really cute.
Rockruff's trainer comes up and says, watch out or you'll evolve into something. I guess he's trying to evolve Rockruff into the other kind of evolution. And so then the fire the girl in charge of the furnace comes up and says like he'll be fine.
Yeah,
but it's cute. Shellder
they're all
is
kind of
adorable.
goofing around for a little bit.
And then Charizard like gives Fuecoco a Pokeball, and I think he goes rah rah, which was cute. I like this scene.
So yeah.
Hogator shows up to Roy. Roy is spilling his heart out. He says, "I want to sing. I want to battle with you. I want to do all these things. I want to explore."
We
and
could be lovers.
And so Hogator is like, struggling for words, and then he spits out a Pokeball.
Amazing.
And Roy picks up the Pokeball and says, "Hogator, I've been preparing for this for my whole life. I'm so excited to be a Pokemon trainer." He like stands back, he winds up his shot, he throws it at Hogator, and it just bounces off of him. But then Hogator headbutts it, and he gets caught.
Yeah, I don't know exactly how Pokeballs work. I don't know if the Pokemon has to like express an intent to be captured for it to work. Like maybe he was taken by surprise. But I don't know, it's changed the way they've presented it over the years too. Now we know for sure that they have a interior
Crocodile
house.
alligator.
Yeah. But also he just kind of captures it and lets it right back out, which is something that happens in Pokemon a lot because like literally Pokeballs register your Pokemon. Like it becomes like it's like a Wi-Fi signal, I guess, that informs the mega computers that run the world that this Pokemon belongs to you and nobody can take it without getting sued in a court of law. Going by the Team Rocket antics. So
after this, they're like, or the Rising Volteckers go, "Hey, Roy, so it's great you had that moment with Hogator, but we got to get out of here and take him with us." And Roy, has a little mental crisis of like, "Oh, but I want to see Hogator."
Yeah.
And
he doesn't think great. The second he said the line, "There's no way my Gramps would let me set off on a journey."
His grandpa just shows up.
No. It doesn't happen right away. But in my head, I was like, his granddad's going to show up on the beach. Because we actually weren't as far into the episode as I thought. But it felt like we only had a couple minutes left. And I was
this is the one. Because this is the episode where like halfway through they started playing end credit music, right? Or is that a different show?
That's a different
KamiKatsu.
show.
That was KamiKatsu. I
think
forgot
it was
to mention it while we were talking
actually,
about
that
it.
just like played like halfway through for no.
And we were both like, "Is this over?" It was just very strange. It was right after Attar became a god as well.
No.
So, sorry, I should have brought that up.
Yeah. So the second he said my Gramps would never let me off, I knew he was going to come to the beach because the whole episode has taken place on this beach so far.
They're not going to introduce a new location.
They're not going to make another location which, funnily enough, they actually do.
Yeah,
they
right
do
after
end
this.
up going to the village with the granddad, so they could have had him go there, but no. Instead, they use that as the transition. But I really thought they were not going to bother animating the village. So Granddad shows up on the beach.
He's like, "What do you want to do with your life?" And Roy goes, "I believe in the ancient adventurer. I want to be just like him."
Yeah, I don't know who this ancient adventurer is.
Ash Ketchum. Oh, sorry.
Well, I don't know. He kind of has long hair. Or I think they also say they don't know if it's a man or a woman. Like, nobody knows. It's probably the fucking grandma, right? Liko's grandma?
Oh, that would make
She
sense.
could be-
That's
I don't know, she's
ancient
not
is a
ancient.
strong word.
Yeah, she's just old. I don't know. I don't think this is set in the far future of old Pokemon. I mean, they didn't have airships in Pokemon, so maybe.
It'd be cool.
It's hard to say. But
He wants to find legendary Pokemon.
He convinces Granddad that he should be allowed to go out. Granddad's like, bring me back your cool legendaries, and he's like, I'll let you ride it too.
Well, Granddad doesn't say that.
There's a lot of weird sus language in this anime. I'll let you ride it, Gramps. Come on.
He's talking about the
Rayquaza. Be your
Rayquaza.
partner. Come on. All right. So yeah, the rest of the episode is basically.
Oh, is this Mashal again?
Yeah, this is almost the same scene as the Mashal Council of fucking Satan.
Dweebs.
But we see that the what are they called again? Fucking adventurers?
Explorers.
They seem to be led by like this Lord Zed.
He's got a name and a butler.
It's like a supercomputer, like a.
Or it's a guy. It could be like Wizard of Oz.
Yeah, it's some kind of man behind the curtain situation that's giving them commands. Basically
Because why didn't you ask for backup? Why did you pursue this on your own? And he's like, I'm an idiot.
Amethio, you have lost for 6 consecutive episodes, so maybe we're gonna let one of our other
Their team rocketing him
generals go. And he kind of determines that him and his people are they're gonna go try to track down that Rayquaza. So I don't know if there's gonna be a subplot about him separately doing that, or if he's gonna keep pursuing the kids because they might have a connection to it. It's hard to say. But I like that we're taking a new direction.
Yeah, they're definitely going to track the Rayquaza. That's where the show's
As long as this means that we don't have a 7th fight with that same fucking Pokemon.
Don't worry. We will have a 7th and 8th and 9th. And they're never going to actually win or lose a battle.
This flag is how Roy and Huggator met and bonded, and so they take it on their journey.
They put it back on the Rising Volteckers. It is their flag. It's the ship's flag. So
this episode for me, it's hard. I wanted to call this a 5 out of 10. It might be a 6.
I'd give it a 6.
It's unlike Oshi no Ko, where in that case I gave it a 5 because there was things I really liked and things I really hated. In this case, it was more of a flat line of like nothing frustrated me, nothing made me mad or upset.
Well, nothing really happened either.
Nothing really happened. I mean, Black Rayquaza showed up and rained hell. That was kind of neat, but like a lot of what's intriguing about this show really relies on me already caring about Pokemon. Like, if I didn't already think Rayquaza was cool, would I really care that there's like a shiny one that's raining shit? Like,
have we ever seen shiny Pokemon in the show before? I was curious about that also.
But it's kind of rare.
Okay.
Just like but there have been some shinies, but yeah, I don't know. It was just okay. It's the natural conclusion of what had been happening in the previous episodes. We knew Roy was going to be friends with Hoggator, so like none of that was a revelation. They sing the song again. It's all cute, but it's just very obvious. I don't know. I don't know if I love the way that this show has a continuous narrative because it allows it to do very little in every episode. Where like they make the smallest, tiniest bit of progress, and I feel like when Pokemon had self-contained episodes, at least you always got
some kind
satisfying
of progress.
Conclusion to that story. You know,
maybe we'll get that now. I hope, please.
Yeah, I would like more like episodic.
Go to the Charizard Island
adventures, or if you're gonna do 2-parters, at least make sure that they're more distinct from the episodes that came before them. All right.
Oh, we're back to Hell's Paradise.
Yep. So last week, I don't remember if I screen capped this happening at the end of the previous episode, but they showed
last
it again.
week we ended on the Bandit Cave King and his brother finding some hot girls making out in the forest.
Yeah, just some fucking Yuri lesbian action going on. I love it. I was immediately like, hello, let's get in on this action.
And so that's where we pick back up, and the pink-haired girl goes, "Hey, you want to come over here and fool around for a while?" And the blonde-haired girl goes, "Come on, don't be like that." And then she turns into a he and starts. They fight.
They get upset that these guys are here spoiling their mood. So the one girl transforms into man mode and is like, "I'm gonna beat your ass," and you're like, "Holy shit!" They are gender fluid.
And then there's
Groot
a tree.
shows up. So yeah, with our main characters group, they see this little pink-haired girl and oh god, what's the name? Maru? Maru? Gabimaru. He sees the little girl running away, and he's like chasing after her, like, this girl might have information. She could be our only lead.
And he basically says, "Hey, everyone else, fight the tree guy." But
yeah. He gets attacked by Groot, and he's just like, fuck that, I'm gonna follow the little girl, and he leaves Groot to the ninja, and she
drinks something, takes the nerdy guy's glasses, and says, "I can't tip my hand to you," and then starts like secreting moisture.
She's just like gooing.
Yeah.
Her skin is secreting a jizz-like goo. That I don't know. I like it. I like. It looks cool. I like goo.
Goo.
I don't know what she did with it. Ultimately, it cuts away.
We don't know yet.
She defeated Tree Man somehow, but we don't know how yet. Also, little girl has like some kind of magic strength ability that she can fend off Gabimaru.
She punches Gabimaru, and I think there's like a shockwave, like there was with Mashle.
Yeah, like he gets knocked back.
But basically, he just takes up a bunch of tree roots and ties her up in the trees, and she immediately starts crying.
I thought this was cute. This episode is going to tread a very fine line of how anime is the treatment of this lolly going to be. Because immediately she gets tied up, but it's not sexual. It's funny. It's cute. She just starts crying. The Sagiri cuts her down and is taking care of her, giving her a hug, kind of giving him the you're an asshole look for doing that to this child.
And then the tree guy is like, please leave her alone.
Please,
don't hurt her.
I beg of you, don't kill me. Let me take her back to the village. And
which is a lot different than I Am Groot. I don't know how this happened.
He learned a lot of words since Guardians 3. He did say I love you guys at the end of that movie, so spoilers.
It's about family.
It's about drive. It's about power. Anyways, the tree man basically bargains with them, because Ninja Girl's like, why don't we just kill you and let her take us to the village? And he's like, we got food. And she's like, we got plenty of food. And he's like, we got baths. And she's like, we're in.
And then she does a little bath song and dance as they're going there.
So
Gabby Maru's like, fucking, I don't want to take a bath. I'm way too cool for this.
They show up at the village, and it's just like a ghost town surrounded by mist. And Tree Man says, until 1,000 years ago, it wasn't like this, implying that they have been here for 8,000 years.
We learn they're immortal, but they're taking a bath first.
Yes, so
we
we
get Sagiri comes in because I forget the other guy's name. Doesn't want to be around naked.
Yeah,
ladies.
Gabi Maru doesn't. Well, he just doesn't want to relax.
Well, not Gabi Maru, the other Asaemon.
Oh, okay, yeah, fat boy. Yeah, he's just he's a bit too shy. And then Gabi Maru's like, we shouldn't be doing this, but whatever. I guess I'm roped into it. And they're
we
like,
shouldn't be doing this, stepsister.
Ninja Girl's like, you're so rigid. Even Sagiri's getting in. We got to take this opportunity. And
Sagiri's like, I'm not here to relax. I'm just here to keep an eye on you. And then she gets in the bath and is immediately
melts. Remembers that she is a bath slut. This is my favorite character trait of her so far, because she's always been high-strung and a hard ass. And this whole episode is basically just all the characters letting their guard down, which is really good. I think as a story beat, even though nothing crazy memorable happens in this episode, it's important for there being any breathing room in this story. It's pretty much just been manic violence for 6 straight episodes. So this is where all the characters get to sort of settle down, show a more realistic side of themselves, and have feelings and purpose and a sense of justice. Most of which is brought about by just, hey, throw a little girl in there. You'll see everybody bring out either the best or worst in themselves if you throw a little girl in there. So they're relaxing at the bath. Meanwhile, Groot starts explaining to them about these. I don't remember what they're called.
He explains about the island first. I think they're called Tensins.
The Tensins are the angel people,
but so
right?
The island is split up into 3 separate quadrants. There's the forest, there's the village with all the mist and everything, and then there's where the elixir of life in the center is. He explains that there's these, there's the gods and the monsters, the big scary dudes that we've seen them kick the shit out of. But then there's also the Tensin, and they're scary because they can't die. And then it cuts to the brothers fighting.
They're immortal, perfect beings is how they are described, which I like that the ability to go back and forth between genders is considered a part of a immortal, perfect beings makeup. But yeah. So they beat the shit out of the brothers, the cave brothers, and
throw them in a pit.
Throw them into a pit that is full of flower corpses. This looks so cool.
It's a great shot. We learn that the elixir of life is referred to, it's Tan or Han, one of the two. And this pit is what actually fuels the elixir of life. All of these people in the flower pit. But yeah, they're released from their sin and worldliness to achieve eternal bliss.
I gotta say, in a season, in an anime industry where gorgeous background art is rarer and rarer, this show really brought it this season.
Oh, Groot also explains that this island is the home of the gods for real, for real.
So there's a part where Gabi Maru's like, well, then what's the deal with the little girl? Is she one of them too? And he points his sword at her, and Sagiri's like,
crying.
Hey, don't point blades at people. And he's like, huh?
That's
And
a weird thing?
The other girl's like, yeah, you fucking monster. And he's like, I literally have never considered the possibility that it might be upsetting to point a blade at somebody. I like this because it reinforces the, like, you know, the wife has been presented as like this soft woman who sort of told him to be like in any way normal, and he thought she was unreasonable. But these are two women that he actually like respects because they're warriors that he's fought alongside, and even they are telling him like, hey, you're being a bit of a weirdo. And so he kind of takes it more seriously. He's like, oh, sorry, I didn't realize. So I thought that was fun. Then there's also a scene where they're walking along. I don't remember what he says to her to get this reaction, but she's like, you're so stubborn. And I just like that the show treats this character as like he is an edgelord and a weird brat. Like it's all done with self-awareness. It's not like we're not supposed to think that he's the coolest guy ever because he thinks he has no emotions. We're supposed to think he's the coolest guy ever because he totally does have emotions.
And he's the coolest guy ever because he has so cool firepower.
His whole act is what makes him an obnoxious douche that that Sagiri
he's just oblivious.
Has some issues with. So this is a scene that I didn't know how to feel about. Because in the first bath scene, when the two women are in the bath, the little girl shows up fully clothed and brings them.
And you were like,
tea.
It's not going to be that kind of show.
I was like, wow, they're not going to sexualize the lolly or put her in the bath. Bakaraptor's gonna totally approve. Bakaraptor, this is his type of show. He really likes a Kame ga kill. He likes these sort of violent, ridiculous things. But he hates Lolicon. Sure. And so I was
so they walk into the bathhouse and immediately naked Lolly.
The Lolly is in there. And granted, it's not presented in a very sexual way, but Gabimaru's reaction is to immediately begin undressing. Yeah. And they're like,
red flag.
Both women are like, what are you doing? And he's like, well, in my village, everyone just shared the same bath regardless of age and gender, which sounds very reasonable. Like, yeah, that's probably how it would be in ancient Japan, especially in a poor village or whatever. But basically the little girl's like afraid, and Sagiri realizes that there's all kinds of stuff
like hair products and beauty products,
all kinds of things you can use to take care of yourself in this bath.
But this girl's never been taught.
Yeah, she doesn't have a family, nobody's there, so she gives her she puts a bathing outfit on her, which
an Oda style bathing
did
experience.
A lot to make this scene feel more sincere.
It was really cute,
not sexual and adorable.
She washes the little girl's hair and then I think even does her makeup.
It's a very motherly approach. She's really trying to take care of this little girl.
And then we cut to a flashback with the wife.
Yeah, so Gabimaru, the real reason that he didn't like baths even when his wife used to bathe him, because he's like, it makes my guard go down. It literally relieves my anxiety, which I need in order to do my job. And she's like, you are too high strung.
You need consider being a normal guy.
Yeah, she basically says if you don't get any rest, you won't be ready for the real battle in life when it comes.
And he goes, what? Are we expecting a big job or something? And she goes, no, life.
Yeah, and she tells him, you are the general, I'm the strategist. You let me figure out your life for you.
He's Washington, she's Hamilton.
If they were fucking.
Well,
yeah, So this is a really, really cute moment, and probably the moment that really sells him as somewhat of a heroic character.
The little girl has a really big scar that Sagiri says, I'm sorry I can't do anything about it, and Gabimaru says, hey, look, I know a woman with a large scar, but there's no one more beautiful than her.
Yeah, he's really insistent, don't be, because the little girl, the whole reason that she's being nervous around them at all is that she doesn't want them to see the scar on her body. And he's literally the most beautiful woman in the world has this big scar on her face.
And Sagiri's taken aback by this.
And she's like, oh my god,
you're
just
a good person?
The nicest thing I've ever heard you say. Little girl's she admires him and everything. It's a cute moment. We don't know the fate of the brothers yet. We don't know what's going to come next, but this was just a nice little low-key...
we did see them in the pit. Blonde guy started getting absorbed by vines, but then his brother saved him, and they're just kind of hanging out down there.
Yeah, we don't know exactly if they're going to live or not.
Maybe he's going to chainsaw man it and just hurt all the plants.
I was surprised how much I enjoyed this episode because throughout this show up to this point, a lot of the sort of down moments where they're just talking about emotions have kind of glided over my brain, where like I get the gist of what's going on. It's like, okay, I get what Sagiri's feeling emotionally, but all of the words she's using to describe it I don't really care about, so it's mostly been about the action for me with this show. This was the first time there was a down moment where I felt like the characters were enriched to a point where I will actually care if they die, in like a sad or dramatic way. And, it feels like these characters have the legs to go the distance.
Oh, yeah. They're all fast as fuck, boy.
I'm sure the next episode will get right back into the crazy violence.
They're probably going to encounter the Tensen.
And we still saw some fun, crazy stuff, with the Tensen. Like, at one point, it's like, it just cuts to it, like, having been carved through the chest and then, like, just growing it all back. But yeah, so that's Jigokuraku.
It grows back with, like, plants, too.
The next show we've got
Heavenly Delusion.
Another really strong episode of this show.
Yeah.
By the way, Jigokuraku, I would have given that a 7. This, I will give an 8 out of 10 for this episode. This was one of the most exciting ones of the show so far.
Yeah, I think those are both fair, and yeah, this was definitely an amazing episode.
I think most of what this show, what owes to the show's quality is that the cinematography is so good. There's just so many good shots. Everything looks great. They always pack a lot of information into each shot, a lot of world detail that makes it feel lived in. Also, this episode I don't think ever cut back to the kids in the facility.
Yeah,
there was no B
huge
plot.
Fan of that.
Yeah, I didn't miss it. I literally forgot.
I didn't even think about it.
I did not at any point watching the episode go, I wonder what's going on with those kids back in the facility.
But so it starts off with they're trying to make a sign that says, "We kill man-eaters, 2 million yen each." And, this guy can't spell. And so the girl goes, "You can't spell." I don't remember the character's name.
I'm going to go ahead and bring up the names so that we're not saying this guy and this girl the whole time.
The woman, the bodyguard, starts...
Kiruko and Maru.
So, Kiruko's the girl, right?
Yes.
Kiruko starts writing it herself, but she gets distracted while explaining something to him and writes it wrong. Yeah. And so she writes it on the other side of the door. And then they just kind of hang out near a campfire.
She explains why
on a bridge.
It's so important that you write correctly, because she previously had a sign that looked like it said that she kills and eats men, based on the way she had written it. And when someone actually started getting killed in the area, she got blamed for it. People were just like, "Oh, you're the man-eater, so of course you killed these people." She's like, "Yeah, people are dumb. They will react badly if they don't understand something, so please be careful with your typography." So they create this sign. It's like, rather than have
on the back.
Rather than like having an establishment with a sign on the door, they just have a door with
that was pretty fun.
Writing on it that they're carrying around while they like fish off of a bridge. Again, I just love the artwork in this show.
Big Ringo.
There's a billboard that says Big Ringo, which means apple. So it's like a weird artsy picture of
New
an
York.
Oh yeah, that's funny.
So now it's nighttime. They're hanging out at the campfire, still with their door. He says something. I'm not.
Basically, she's looking at him and he's lost in thought, and she's like, "What are you thinking about?" And he's like, "I'm looking at the fish. They're all different shapes and sizes, and there's an odd number, so I don't know how we're gonna split them up." And like, she had thought he was thinking something cooler or deeper than that. So she's like, "You look good when you're quiet." And he's like, "Oh wait, let me try to look cool." And she's like, "Nah, you missed your shot."
Ruined it.
But this line intrigues me because it implies that maybe she does find him attractive to some... Now, reminder, Hiruko... I keep saying she, but Hiruko considers himself a boy.
When it's convenient.
Yeah, it's a little... Well, again, yeah, because Hiruko didn't care about the pronouns or anything, but ultimately...
Boobs are boobs.
Yeah, like... Even though her insistence has always been, we can't screw around because I'm actually a boy... when the chips are down, they both still seem to be attracted to each other, and they're kind of getting into a more flirty stage. I'm just wondering, you don't have to be a girl to be into boys. At some point, Hiruko must realize this. So we cut to, there's some people who are up on this, like, I guess sky bridge between buildings, and they see,
They see the sign. And they're
sign
like,
and the
these guys
campfire.
could be trouble.
So they go, these guys, these lookouts, they sort of go into this weird room where there's like an operating table, surrounded by a fabric, what are those called? A sheet? A curtain?
Yeah,
A curtain. And behind the curtain is a doctor with blood on his hands, and they're reporting to the doctor about these people loitering, and he's like, bring them to me. But before they can bring them to him,
three other people show up.
Different group shows up, and those other guys had said, like, we're worried that they might be with that group. Well, turns out that group came and found them, and they take them to their hideout.
They even cut to the other guys, like, at their campfire, like, wait, where'd they go?
I singled out a shot here that I really love. It's not that it's necessarily aesthetically genius, but we're cutting to, like, the inside of this hideaway, and, like, first it shows a bunch of signs that say, like picket signs that are like, stop the experiments, stop human experimentation. And then there's a shot where we can see, like, multiple rooms at the same time of, like, this place where there's different people. Everybody's just kind of sitting around drinking at tables, it seems like, but our main characters have been taken into, like, a back room where everybody's in chairs, and, like, just the amount of, again, like, detail and lived-inness that comes from every shot of this show, just, like, it makes you feel like you're there right away without having to go into a bunch of explanation or detail about where you are. And so basically we're informed that this doctor has been touted as a miracle worker, and people have come from all over to try to get...
He's what, the Immortal Legion or so? Like the Immortal...
Yeah, they call his group the Immortal Legion. He apparently didn't name it this.
I don't think it's the Immortal Legion. It's something like that, though.
Yeah. People come from all over to have their injuries cured, but what he actually does is, like, amputate your shit.
Them with machines.
And give you machine parts.
And so the main woman of the Resistance has a silly leg. Not a silly leg, like a...
She had her leg amputated and given, like, a metal piece. I mean, it's not that different from modern technology of what you would do if you had to amputate someone's leg.
Yeah.
I think, basically, from the way she tells her story, it sounds like she needed her leg amputated, and she's just upset that he wasn't a miracle worker like the rumors said.
Maybe.
Because these people are presented as, like, slightly ridiculous. Like, maybe
they are pretty ridiculous.
And they even, like... They have a moment where they're like, I bet you're thinking this and this to the kids.
The kids both, like, look shocked. That
like, oh, that's exactly what I was thinking. Like, yeah, you guys seem a little wonky. But her main reason for leading this resistance is apparently she found a room where this doctor had a body that's been just dismembered into countless pieces that are all being hooked up to all these machines, and it's like this crazy life support system. And when she found this thing, it just begged her, let me die. This reminded me of the first episode of Metalocalypse when their chef gets cut up in the blades of their helicopter, and they put him on a bunch of machines and eventually put him back together. But supposedly this guy is just like, let me die. Sounds like kind of a... Like, this story beat, while it's neat, like, conceptually, it's kind of generic sci-fi in a way that surprised me, because I don't feel like this show is so fucking weird most of the time with its ideas. And the fact that she's telling the story, I don't know, it just kind of makes me doubt it. Like, it's just generic enough that it sounds partially untrue. Like, she's lying.
Maybe she's just making it up. She doesn't like this guy just because she doesn't like him.
But they have a scene where she's bathing, and they're having a conversation. He says something that offends her. He says something about, she's like, I'm still a boy on the inside. I don't remember what he accused her of, but she, like, argues I am cool-headed and, like, gets out of the bath all naked just to kind of be like, hey, fuck you. Like, I'm still, I still am not, like, just some girl. But, of course, his reaction is just, oh, my God, I saw her naked. Oh, my God, I saw her naked. Oh, God, it's all I could think about. They're cuddled up at night way too close, and he's, like, being squished so close I can only think of irrelevant stuff. I like that phrase.
Irrelevant stuff.
Because he's really trying to think about the situation
we
at
have
hand.
a cursed view count right now. 666.
Oh my gosh. Amazing. Immortal Order is what they're called. So outside of the Immortal Order building, there is a large group of these, the group that they've been following or hanging out with, are all picketing
The Immortal Order.
Basically, the Immortal Order supposedly has a man-eater, and if they were to try to actually attack them or do anything about it, they would just get wiped out. So instead, they're just protesting haplessly.
But it's a ruse. It's a ruse. It's all to get our main characters into the basement, which is just a parking garage.
Well, so they go down to the parking garage, and it's all lit up, and they're like, wow, they must have crazy power generation here. Maybe the life support stuff's real. And they can't find a monster, so that's when Maru starts to be like, this is suspicious. Maybe we're just being set up. Like, maybe those guys are trying to fuck us over. So they start getting a little paranoid, but then they do find, like,
a man-eater.
A larva of a man-eater, or like a deactivated one or something. So Maru just kills it, and they're like, thank God, at least that this was actually real. We weren't sent here on a goose chase. And then they keep finding more of them, and they're kind of searching around until they find the big boss,
guy.
Which is just this weird fucking gross thing, like clinging to a wall, like a combination of a spider web and a homunculus.
It's
like
not a pleasant image
like
at all.
Envy from Full Metal Alchemist, when he's in this big form. It's a gross monster. And as soon as they see this, all of a sudden, all these little monsters start coming out of the floor and the walls and...
Wait, no. As soon as they see it, what happens is they talk about how, this thing must be near the end of its life. It's dormant. It's not moving. Yeah. And then... what's the guy's name?
He's Maru. He's
Maru
like,
says,
if it smells food, then
it's going to wake up.
Right?
And then it kind of lights up for a second and starts, attacking...
Yeah.
Kiruko.
All these little monsters start showing up, and she's like manically trying to shoot at them. She's frantic. It's not working. She shoots one through the face, and it doesn't work. And this whole, like, Maru's, like, being pinned down. And the only thing that was kind of suspicious about this scene to me is, like, Maru's not making any noise.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like, okay, what's going on? This is weird. And I think you even said, is this like a dream or something?
Yeah.
And they start just chomping her limbs off. So this is where I'm like, oh my god, it's going full fucking Maiden Abyss. Like, she's actually going to, like, lose limbs and stuff. But no, it turns out this is some kind of weird delusion that the monster had put her under until Maru breaks her out with a kiss. This is another shot I just really liked the staging of, because you can see...
the man-eater lighting up.
Yeah, you see the demon. You also see him kissing her, and it's like a full body shot but far from the camera, so it's like under dramatized, almost presented like a comedy moment, but she like wakes up to this, so it's like, whoa, this is happening now, and all that was a dream. So he snaps her out of it. He destroys the monster. There's a really awesome gross animation of the monster just like sputtering,
exploding,
blood
and then just kind of falling over. It's really sweet.
Yeah, I love anytime animation finds a way to like show a fantasy creature being gored, because it's like, how do you imagine what that would look like? And they did a great job here.
But then Mara just explains, hey, it hypnotized you. Whoops, I'm gonna go kill all the other ones. You should sit here for a second.
Ellen Horizon in the chat said it's a heavenly delusion, if you will.
Very nice, very nice. And then Eye Patch Man shows up.
Yeah, this guy shows up and he's like, oh, you killed that monster?
I have something else I need you to kill.
And he reveals that he is the doctor.
Dr.
Guy that...
is Usima?
I don't remember the name, but he's the miracle doctor / murderer doctor. This episode went by really fast.
Yeah, I was surprised.
We were, after a lot of episodes this season that have been, or this week, that were like amazingly slow. I would say...
a bit of a slog, if you will.
The Dangers in My Heart episode 6 or 5,
6.
whichever one we covered first.
6.
That one felt like a eternity.
Took forever.
And then this one was like, oh my god, it's over? Wow. Like, it was just so tense the whole way through. So, yeah. Really good. 8 out of 10 episode. We've only got one more anime to talk about. This podcast went a lot longer than I thought it would, because these episodes... every show was exciting this week. Regardless of good or bad, most of them were exciting. Except for Dr. Stone. This was maybe the worst episode of Dr. Stone so far.
I don't know about that.
One of the least interesting episodes.
They're on the ocean.
So, okay. Last episode was a ridiculous amount of setup for getting on this boat.
And now they're on the boat.
To
Look
kind
at
of like
it.
say, hey, we're going into a new arc. I understand that there needed to be some time on the boat. Like, we needed to spend some time there so it felt like a real journey because they're going, like, across the world.
They should have done a parody of The Lonely Island.
But just none of the stuff that happens on the boat is very exciting. And this episode is packed with retcons. Many retcons.
That's a little later in the episode.
Oh,
we'll get there in just a second.
So, alright. They're on the boat. They've got their little command room, which is cool. Senku's like, we're going to save all 7 billion humans. It's time. They're like, how the fuck are you going to do that? We lost our miracle water cave. And he's like, if we have some platinum, we can restore, we can make it our, like, we can make endless fucking
nitric acid.
And I don't remember why he has this theory, but basically he thinks that or maybe it was because of the 100 Tails. We'll get to that in a second. But his dad, when he landed from space and created a society, they created a treasure chest on the island that they had landed on that was full of all their best minerals, all their most precious rocks and shit. So they want to go find that treasure box because they think it's going to have platinum in it.
So to learn about all of the... so the 100 Tales are a collected set of stories that have been passed down through Ishigami Village since the petrification happened. And we learn that the Ishigami Village was split off by the astronauts.
Yeah, we're gonna... so... We flash back to, I guess, when they first showed up at the village and when Senku first was hanging out with Kohaku's sister. I don't remember her name, but she's like the priestess. Ruri. When he first is hanging out with Ruri and she tells him all of the 100 Tales, which... getting to number 8 takes all night long and he's exhausted. I thought that was a fun little...
That was cute.
...moment. But yeah, like... Again, we're like jumping way back in the timeline of the show to go back and readdress this for it being relevant again now. And
so everyone's named after a type of ore.
Yes,
wow.
It's finally mentioned that all the main characters' names are some kind of pun on an ore type, and so that's intentional.
Dunbar's number.
Yeah, there's a lot of just random concepts thrown into this episode. Basically, the long and short of what they're trying to explain, because every explanation is super wordy in this show, is that at some point the survivors who built their village would have gotten big enough that they would have split away, because Dunbar's number says
had to explore.
You can only get to like 150 people before it becomes sort of untenable as a society. Now, I've always been fascinated with Dunbar's number. I have thousands of people's names and what they do in my brain, but I think that keeping up with people in that kind of active way that you would consider a community, I have like 5. So I don't know what is considered like the level of relationship you are supposed to be able to have.
The maximum number of people the human brain can remember in a village.
I'm just saying I can remember more than 150 people, but can I keep track of what they're doing? I don't know.
Probably not.
I think in modern society, obviously, most of us live in cities with way more than 150 people, but we have, like, intersecting communities. I would say most people probably are aware, like, actively in their real lives of, like, 150 people.
Yeah.
Like, you've got your whole extended family, you've got whoever you work with, you've got whoever you go to school with, whoever you're in clubs with, whoever you deal with on the internet, like...
The cast of Vanderpump Rules.
I just think that mine is, I mean, this is probably why I have such shallow relationships with most people, but my number goes a lot higher than 150. Nonetheless, it's a fun concept to play around with. So, halfway through the episode...
Hey, bald guy shows
this
up.
Guy,
so this is really infuriating.
I don't know if this dude was in the background in earlier episodes, because we've talked about how there have been scenes where there's just random fucking characters who've like never said anything or been introduced that have been around. This guy apparently is on the strength team. He's this bald dude with a big X scar on his head and big
It says he has a cameo in episode 7.
Okay, so he has shown up before.
He has been in the show before.
But
it's been a while.
Basically, other characters come in and they're like, hey, this dude from the power team has something he wants to tell you. And he shows up, and everyone's like, we literally have no idea who you are. Nobody knows who this guy is.
And Kohaku goes as far to go like, yeah, he doesn't even have a name.
Yeah, we put him down as no name on the list because we do not know who this fucking man is. But he tells them, I'm not originally from Ishigami Village. I actually washed ashore as a baby, and they found me and took pity on me and took me in. Look how small that
baby is.
Where did he get let off from? God only the fuck knows. But basically they conclude from this that this must mean that the island is still inhabited, that the astronauts, their descendants, inhabited this island. Those people eventually found their way to Japan because that was what they were told to do by the astronaut, the original leaders. And so they found their way there, and at some point, for some reason, much later than that, someone left their fucking baby. Traveled the sea to leave their baby? Well, I'm sure we're going to learn that whole story eventually.
Here we get a cool little view of what's going on in the ship. There's the engine, there's a little mobile lab that'll fit in the back of the car. I don't actually see the car, I notice.
I really wish that this scene had come before all those other scenes.
Yeah, maybe like at the very beginning.
Why didn't they start off showing off the boat? Then we would have really settled in and felt like we're going to be on this boat all episode.
It looks like there's sheep in there, or maybe goats.
Yeah, this is they go through most of the rooms
That's
and
a cute shark.
Explain what is all on the ship. And then there's lots of just like
they're
ship scenes. Like, hey, what could happen on a boat? What could science do for people on a boat?
So
we could make some medicines.
Get really seasick. Dr. Stone, fucking Senku, he goes, "Hey, you want to see something really poisonous?" And then he dilutes it a whole bunch and gives it to the seasick people, and they're fine. Wow, science.
There's a part where a big storm comes in. And everybody gets to their stations because Senku's like, well, the storm could work to our advantage because they're not going to see us coming, but our eyes of science can see them. And as the island is coming into view, bald guy
Soyuz
fucking has a flashback to his literal infancy.
And he's just like, oh my god, this is definitely the place I was born. And so when he said that line, I out loud yelled, no.
There's a scene... where he explains that he had been kind of obsessed with trying to get back home. He built a boat and tried to go out, but he failed and just washed back ashore. So they're trying to set up that there's emotion behind this, but we just fucking met this guy. It's really hard to give a shit about this at all. It's so goofy.
I bet they'll give us more.
I will say this felt very One Piece to me. Because
of the X on his head?
The character design contributes to it for sure. But, in that show, generally, at least in the early part especially, in between islands, because each arc kind of takes place on an island, their boat will be out and they'll run into somebody who's, their problem is why the arc begins.
Yeah.
So it's we meet a new character. That character has some kind of emotional reason that everybody else is going to now give a shit about whatever's about to happen. So that's kind of what's happening here, but it's just so... It just feels so random. Who the fuck is this guy? He's never been in the show before.
He's really emotional. He really, takes
he has
up
been
a lot
in the show,
of
but he never had dialogue. Yeah, it's...
Also, real quick, in between islands, that's the ocean.
Yeah, and whenever they're on the ocean. This whole episode, just to me, again, it was a lot of belaboring the point. It's a lot of, they'll have... The conversations in this show are realistically in-depth in a way that isn't entertaining. Because it's too much. It's somebody will bring up, well, what if somebody on the island could be Y-Man? And then everybody has to have an opinion on whether or not, And so that just slows it to a crawl. And again, there's no tension in the show right now. There's not a bad guy. Ever since they beat Tsukasa, then there's no looming threat. There's Y-Man, but we don't know what that is. So, yeah,
now we have some new looming threat, the island.
I think that all of this setup is fine. It could lead to something great. It's just boring in the moment.
AF.
Yeah, this episode is a 5 out of 10 for me.
But that is a problem with Dr. Stone. That's kind of why I had to take a break at some point in season 2.
This was a 5 out of 10 in the same way that Pokemon was, in that it was like it wasn't it was a little offensive with this guy showing up.
Yeah.
But there were also some fun moments that were kind of like, okay, but nothing super memorable. Like all I'm gonna have in my head of this episode is just that one shot of the whole ship.
Yeah.
That's probably all I'm gonna remember of this. Is like, oh yeah, they were on the ship. It was like a storm or something, and they made it to the island. You know, like.
I think at one point Ryusui makes some kind of like delicious snack or beverage, or I'm sorry, not Ryusui, Francois makes some kind of delicious snack or beverage. Yeah, but that's pretty much it.
Yeah, so that's it.
I'd give it like a 4.
A 4, I love strong 4 to a light 5. It's the worst episode of Dr. Stone I can remember having seen. And I really hope it picks back up very quickly because I don't. This show.
I was pretty mad about the
this
mirror
show moves
pictures.
Too slow for how little of it they fucking make. This has been coming out since 2019.
Yeah, something like that.
So we're on our 4th year of Dr. Stone, and we're only on a third, 11. Season 2 was only 11 episodes. Season 3 is only 11 episodes. Ryusei was like a 4-episode length of a special, but
maybe we'll get more of that.
It just feels like, man, we get so little Dr. Stone and it makes so little progress. Like, how long are we going to be fucking watching this before we get the real satisfying payoffs that might come later? So, yeah, I don't know. It's unfortunate that I don't think this season will be able, have time to build up to anything super interesting, you know? But we'll see what happens. I still like.
I think something's gonna be fun. We've got to get some cool science.
That's it for this week of anime. If you want to support this show, backed.by/we-watch-anime or patreon.com/goldenwitchfire. For $5 a month, you can vote in a poll to decide what we watch on the bonus episodes. We do 2 bonus episodes a month covering 13 episodes worth of a specific show. The current poll. The options are Bocchi the Rock, Gundam Witch from Mercury, Xavier Renegade Angel, which is not anime, but this person who suggested it doesn't watch anime. Imoto Sai Areba E, Loveless, and Demon Slayer episodes 1 through 13. If you want us to watch one of those shows, sign up, vote for it, and you'll get to see us talk about it 2 weeks from now. And then a week after that, we'll do another one because this month is already pretty deep in, so, we'll have to do them both pretty quickly. But yeah, Is there anything else we need to say? If you're listening to the live stream recording and you already listened to the whole thing, just go play the edited version
on Spotify
anyways.
Or even on YouTube.
We just want the views. We want the watch time. It takes 4,000 hours to get a channel monetized. We already have 650, so we are making good progress.
Which is amazing. Thank you, guys.
And and we also, again, thank you to the people on Patreon. We read some names at the start, but you can get your name read in every episode of our show for $10
only $10 a month. That's a steal.
Also, Patreon lets you buy a whole year at a 16% discount. I set it to, so
pretty good.
Both people who have paid for the $10 tier, it was like $100 to get the whole year, basically. As Ellen Huraisen has said, anime forever. And we'll see you all next week. There's nothing else to say, right? That's it. We did it.
Actually, M said something earlier that I think is fun to bring up now that we're at the very end.
What is that?
Apparently, Groot didn't learn words at the end, but the audience, started understanding him.
Oh, that makes sense.